Live from beautiful downtown Bastrop, it's time for the Stage Select, starring Julian Titus and Justin Ham.
What could this possibly be? Seems a lot like a podcast. Wonder what specifically. Talking about video games with your hosts. You're in good hands. Not more to say. Now we'll jump right in. So expect the unexpected and more. Now we'll get grooving. Never know who's gonna walk through the door. There just might be some tragedy. Let's just having fun with a special guest. Time for Stage Select.
With special guest, Xavier Krieger. And here are your hosts, Julian Titus and Justin Ham.
Welcome, one and all, to the Stage Select. I'm Julian Titus.
I'm Justin Ham. I'm here too.
Yes. And we are also joined by our first special guest of the Stage Select. We have one, Xavier Krieger. Welcome to the show, Xavier.
Yes, welcome.
Hi, my P organ knows the best game of 2023. Does yours?
Your P organ?
Yeah,
We'll get into that later.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Okay.
Mine does too. I know what that is. I
Justin
know.
knows.
Yeah.
Okay. Clearly, I missed a game. But that's fine.
I mean, I didn't play it either, but I know what it is. Yeah.
So yes, this is our second episode, but it's already a much different format than the first because this is our big Game of the Year extravaganza for 2023. Now, this is going to be different than what we end up doing ultimately moving forward, but this is kind of like our first attempt at this. Basically, we're going to do old school giant bomb style deliberations. I'm not afraid to say it. Like that, If they don't want to deliberate anymore, we'll do it, goddammit. That's what I want. Like, it might get a little spicy. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't think it'll get that bad.
Probably not. But you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
And you never know, especially moving forward, because we will be doing... So what we're doing tonight is we are going to add a bunch of nominees, and then we will start cutting and whittling that list down until we get to 10, and then we will make an ordered list of 10 that we all agree on. I will, if need be, exercise the Jeff Gerstmann right of just pushing my opinion through no matter what, as is tradition. No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that. It is really funny to go back and listen to those old giant bomb ones because that is 100% a thing that happens.
Oh yeah, I believe that.
Yes, but yeah. So let me see. I am going to share my screen with these two fine gentlemen, and I'm going to go through these nominees that I already have.
Okay.
I started to do this list in relative release order, and then it became order of games that I remembered. And then I finally looked through a list of 2023 games.
Yeah, that's probably the way to go.
That I might have forgotten. I did purposely put some stuff on here that I have not played that y'all may have played. But again, if I've missed anything, then we can definitely add that to this nominee list. But so far, the nominees that I have listed for Game of the Year 2023: Hi-Fi Rush, Octopath Traveler 2, Like a Dragon Ishin, Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat 1, Baldur's Gate 3, A Space for the Unbound, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty,
Oh, I don't know.
Oxenfree 2, Horizon Call of the Mountains, Goodbye Volcano High, Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Starfield, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Fire Emblem Engage, that's one that I forgot. That's like a super...
Oh, yeah.
I totally forgot. Forspoken, Fiat Rhythm Final Bar Line, Dredge, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, Armored Core 6, Sea of Stars, Lies of P, RoboCop Rogue City, Thirsty Suitors, and Persona 5 Tactica.
All right.
Now, is there anything on this list that y'all would like to nominate that I do not have on here?
Yep. I would like one game called Videoverse nominated. That is not on there.
Okay. That's on there now.
All right. I think that's it. Starfield on there? So there was a long list.
Starfield is on there. I've got a
it
couple. I'm going to start with one that I'm throwing out to die. Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
All right.
Okay.
And then, let's see here.
Like a Dragon Gaiden was on there too, right?
It was.
Okay. Figured it was.
Or it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you also add Eternites?
Okay.
That's good for me.
All right.
That's it. Okay.
That's good.
Excellent. We're not going to have the argument that I was afraid we were going to have.
Oh, with the with Resident Evil 4. Yeah, right. I forgot about that. We might still need to have it because it's debatable with Cyberpunk. But what are you going to do?
Yeah.
That's debatable. It's debatable.
We'll cross that.
We're gonna have to cross it pretty soon.
That's where the spice will come in.
I don't think we have to cross that pretty soon. I think we can.
I feel like I do feel like remakes would qualify. They are. I get the argument that they shouldn't be, but they are remade games. You can fuck them up, as we are slowly witnessing with Silent Hill 2 remake.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that is its own thing. Like I don't, So, but they did add stuff to the Resident Evil 4 remake, and it is different, and they did a lot of stuff. So it could qualify. It's not going to because I don't think any of us three care about it. So it's not a big deal, right?
I didn't even end up finishing it. To be
I played like the opening bits, and I was like, yeah, I'm good.
I played the demo, and that was enough spooky for me.
Yeah, that's it. Xavier and I are cowards. That's how that boils down a lot of the time,
I think for me, just for posterity, like I am pretty staunchly against the idea of remakes being considered for Game of the Year. I understand that remake encompasses a pretty wide breadth of thing, right?
Yeah.
And also, obviously things change, right? Like there was a time when you wouldn't put like an unfinished game in a Game of the Year contendership, but that changed with
that's kind of changed. It's tough. Like I think the thing is, like, I think it can be considered the year that one like wins is going to be like crazy though, like
yes, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Now, and I want to be, I do want to be consistent. Like I try to be consistent in my opinions. So for me, like I just don't think that like Dead Space or Resident Evil 4 like are even really worth talking about this year.
No, I don't think so either.
Because they are so close to the original source material.
Yeah.
If we were talking about Resident Evil 2 remake, I might have
that was going to be my big but Resident Evil 2 remake really like changed like that entire game. Like just wholesale.
On the other end of the spectrum, I would actually be fine nominating like Final Fantasy VII remake because that ain't a remake. That's a sequel.
No, absolutely.
No, it's not. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
okay, we're I think okay. I think we're kind of in agreement.
Pretty much roughly on the same pages on that. That's fine.
We'll cross it when we come to it, but just for listeners wondering why those aren't on here, part of it is because like we just like. Again, I didn't finish Resident Evil 4. I haven't played.
Just put it like this: yet. Hey, we put them on the list, and now we have all cut them. They're cut now. Sorry.
Yes.
This isn't the crew for those games. This is another podcast or something will be like those games are good and put them on their list.
Yeah,
not us.
Especially in a year of this list is most of these are bangers. There's a few on here that are not. But I still put them on here for, to discuss them. Right. But Xavier, you are our guest. I will give you the honor of cutting the first game off of this list as we take the massive step to whittle this down.
I think I'm going to take a little bit of the coward's way out. And I'm going to go for a game that I really feel like is only on here because of the series it belongs to. And I'm going to cut Mortal Kombat 1.
Oh, man. What a bold choice. What a bold choice. No, get that thing the fuck out of here. That game was not good.
I didn't play it. I don't think either of you guys didn't play it.
I did play it, and it still should be. I'm like, why is that even here?
Yeah, well, I mean, it came out, right?
It did come out. Let's say that, yeah.
Yeah.
as we have established, well, not on the stage select, but previously, we did establish that the porn game, the Genesis Order, is actually a much better game than Mortal Kombat 1.
I mean, why isn't that on here? Is my question.
Not a 2023 release.
Was it? Did it not come out in 2023? Did it come out in 2022?
I think it was like 2021 or 2.
Oh no, man! Genesis Order. I think that's. Let me look this up. I'm not seriously considering this, but I just want to see for posterity's sake. I'm pretty sure that came out this year, though, Julian. Yeah, September 1st, 2023.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not still in development. Like it's not still in early access. I mean, are porn games ever actually completed?
That's what I mean. I was like, it is in early access, but it is a completed game that you can play to the end of. So,
okay,
yeah,
that's fair.
I would count it, but no, don't put it on the list. Good God, don't do that. I'm not. I'm not that crazy.
We've got plans for those type of games for next year.
Yeah, that's a different
game
type.
of the year.
Yeah.
Justin, what would you like to cut from the list, sir?
I think I'm maybe the only person that played Thirsty Suitors, and I'm very happy with cutting that from the list. I don't think it's a bad game. I just think it's a game that I don't personally give a shit about.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely for somebody. It isn't me, and I think it has that indie game problem where it's trying to do a lot of stuff, and none of it particularly lands with me. So.
I actually also played Thirsty Suitors. I'm not going to fight for it to stay on here. I don't even think I got maybe 4 hours into it.
Yeah, that's about how far I got.
But it did impress me a lot with how much they were doing, how beautiful it looked, like the way that the art style and the way that the personality and culture that kind of came through. But yeah, like you said, it was one of those, which is something that we'll come back to on a couple of these other games. It tried to be 4 or 5 different types of games and really drop the ball enough on enough of those styles.
Right.
That it just didn't work at the end for me.
Yeah. I think you can go.
Yeah. I will say that this was a good year for indie games being not for everybody, right? Like there was a lot of really excellent indie games that were very much for a specific group of people or and not that they can't be enjoyed by other people, right? But had a specific audience in mind. And I think that's really cool that we're there where, you can have that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Did either of you guys play In Stars and Time?
No, I haven't heard of that one.
It is a JRPG roguelike in the style of a Game Boy kind of art style, completely black and white. Extremely cool. I only got an hour and a half into it. I don't know enough about it to bring it here, and I didn't think you guys had played it. But for the people that is for, that is such a specific niche.
Yeah.
It's very, very cool. But you're right. I've recommended that to people. I tell them the idea of it, and they're like, no, that's stupid. Move
right. All right. So it is to me. I'm going to go ahead and cut Horizon Call of the Mountains. I mainly put it on here because I wanted to just kind of have a moment to say my piece about PSVR 2, which I do love. I have not played it nearly as much as I thought I would, mainly because even though it's way easier to use than the PSVR 1, it's still, you're committing to that for the evening, right? And especially with 2023 just being such a banner year and 2024 already starting out as such a banner year, there's just other games where it's I'm currently halfway through a 100-hour RPG and there's 2 other 100-hour RPGs on the horizon for me. So I don't really have a lot of time, to be in VR, but man, it's cool. And they do some really neat stuff there, but I just kind of want to remind people that yes, PSVR 2 came out. It is really cool. There was actually a game at the most recent PlayStation State of Play that I thought looked really cool, where it's this first person dungeon RPG where they're using physics in a really cool way, where you can be fighting one skeleton with your left hand and then look over to the right and throw a an axe at another enemy and stuff like that. Really cool stuff. And I'm like, okay, I think it's already out, which is another problem with a lot of VR stuff, which is that they get announced and released almost immediately with no fanfare, and it's well, okay.
Yeah. Asgard's Wrath is another. I think that's probably meta only.
For now,
but that's another VR game that is phenomenal and like showing some really cool stuff that it can do. It's it's like a 80-hour JRPG that I've put an hour in and then got nauseous and turned it off.
And it's crazy that like that. That's not the type of experience that I want in VR. I don't want to be playing anything that's longer than like a 10-hour experience.
Yeah.
All right, Xavier, it's back over to you.
All right. I think this is a safe-ish cut. So I use Backlogged, which is just like a basically listicle kind of letterboxed-esque site for video games. And I have every game that I played last year that was a 2023 release. That is 34 games. Number 34, my least favorite game that I played out of that, Fire Emblem Engage.
Oh shit. Okay.
Oh, man. I don't know about that.
It hurts me because I really do. I love the Fire Emblem series. I have played every single Fire Emblem all the way back to the original. I used to get translation patches for the games that had not come out and play them like once every couple years. And I think from a purely combat perspective, Fire Emblem Engage like is an extremely well-made game, but its story really bounced me. I really struggle. Like I forced myself through the last 8 or so chapters of it.
That's fair. Now, as somebody who does actually have it in their top 10, because I did like it enough, I'm not sure if I'm ready to cut it yet. But
that's right. I'm not necessarily gunning for it yet.
Right. While the story is bad, and I will wholeheartedly agree with you, and all the characters are kind of boring, it's still a pretty fun tactics game that they did a good job with, and I did enjoy to some extent. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to cut that.
We can leave it there. Xavier, do you have another one that you can offer up?
Let's see here. How do you guys feel about Dredge? I don't remember either of you talking about it. I didn't play it, so
I played it a little bit. Yeah, I played it a little bit, but not enough to get into it at all. So I feel like that's a safe cut, personally. For me, anyway, it is.
I think that works.
Yeah, I think Dredge is a really cool game with a really cool concept, but it's one that I'm personally not going to get into, and that's kind of the long and the short of it. Like it's really neat, and I'm glad it exists. But yeah,
I mainly nominated it because I had heard a lot of stuff about it, and I thought it might have been one that Xavier got into. But yeah that's cool.
Bought it, just haven't played it yet.
Yes, me. Okay.
There's still a lot of very easy cuts before it starts.
No, there is. There absolutely is. We could probably go ahead and get rid of RoboCop Rogue City, unless somebody is crazy and really cares about RoboCop.
I haven't played it. I
didn't either. It's hilarious. I think it's super neat that it exists. It's better than it has probably any right to be. That being said, it's probably not going to be a Game of the Year contender in almost any circle, I don't think. But, maybe I'm wrong.
I didn't play it either. It's one of those games, every time I've heard anybody speak about it, it comes out extremely, just praise, and they're really happy with what it is and surprised. But yeah, it's when it's either a big sale or goes on Game Pass or something, I would like to play it.
I'd mess with it then, yeah.
Okay,
no,
that's fair.
That.
I'm gonna put. I'm not ready for that yet.
Okay.
How about Lies of P?
I am unfortunately gonna have to push back on that.
I figured.
Okay.
Oddly enough, as the big not From Software person out of the three of us, I've never found one that I was able to connect with. This is in my top 5 of this year.
All right.
Yep.
Then we will save that for a later discussion.
That is the P organ reference I made earlier.
Yes, I knew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Persona 5 Tactica then.
Yeah, we can get rid of that.
Did anybody play it?
No.
I haven't touched it.
I did download it. It was on Game Pass, so I played like 45 minutes of it, and it just feels like fan fiction. That's kind of how it came to me. And I had the same issue with what was Strikers? Was that the
I didn't care for Strikers that much either.
I love Persona 5, right? Like it's the game that got me into the Persona series. It is one of my favorite RPG casts. But I am very concerned that it is becoming the Final Fantasy VII of the Shin Megami Tensei like franchise, and that's a bad place to be because, you know.
See, I think that all the Persona games, 3, 4, and 5, have a stupid amount of spin-offs. 4 probably has about the same amount as 5 does. It's got the fighting game, it's got the Etrian Odyssey, it's got 2 or 3 of the Etrian Odyssey games, it's got the the dancing game. So it does have like a decent amount of spin-offs. So that's just an issue that Atlas has with the Persona series at large. It's going to be when Persona 6 comes out, do they let go of Persona 5 and start doing Persona 6 spin-offs? Or do they fail to let go and they're like, oh, but here's Persona 5 college years or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only thing that I would want is a game where they're actually older. Well, actually, I don't want to see them in college. I want to see them as like full adults. Yeah. But
if they do a fighting game, that's what they did with the last fighting game they did was like everybody after the fact or whatever, and it was kind of interesting in that way, I guess. But so maybe we'll do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, Xavier, back over to you then.
Let's go for Diablo 4. I actually did play this game. One of my friends,
me too,
bought it for me because I was kind of like, I really don't. It was at a time I didn't really want to spend money on anything Blizzard. I didn't have a ton of extra time. They bought it for me, and the time I played with them was like a lot of fun. But it was a lot of fun because I was talking with my friend on voice chat. Not because the game loop had the weight to it that I wanted. The loot didn't have the weight that I wanted. It just kind of did not end up working for me like I hoped it would.
Yeah, I didn't. I played
same
it.
For you, Justin?
Yeah, same for me. I played it too, and I liked it when, like, I think I played like the preview thing, and I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty all right. I'm kind of into this. And then like I went back to it, and I was like, I don't care about this. I don't know what it was. There's just something about it that I just don't care about, and it just did not grip me at all. And I'm a big Diablo 1 fan. I love Diablo 1, and I like that they were kind of going for that vibe. At least it seemed like it. But I don't know. It just doesn't do much for me. So.
I've still only played that preview version, and I really didn't like.
Yeah,
I think for me a big thing is that, you know, everything levels with you, right?
Yeah,
and I know it's because they want to do this big open world version of the map where you can kind of go anywhere, but like I feel that like a good middle ground for that would be that the first time that you get to a new zone, it locks at the level you're currently at and scales up from there instead of the whole game just constant. Because you never really. I feel it that it once because I am going to play it when it gets to Game Pass. It's coming in like a month or so. But I feel that like I'm never going to get that feeling of being powerful, right?
Yeah.
Because like everything's always going to be, you know, at my level.
Right.
So it just kind of makes the game feel moot.
Yeah.
In a way.
Well, when I played with my friend, we had sessions where we would play kind of on our own, and then we would go back to earlier zones to mop up, you know, quests that neither of us had done. And you're right. You don't get that feeling of like tearing through the crowds of enemies. It's you're still struggling you're launching every single one of your attacks, constantly having to kind of keep an eye on things and just not making the kind of big bad presence that you get in like 3 or even 2.
Right.
All right.
Diablo 4 gone.
Yeah. All right. It's on me. All right.
It's on
Can
you.
we get rid of I will ask Julian specifically because I know this is his thing. Can we get rid of Theatrhythm Final Bar Line?
We can.
Yeah, I understand that it's, you know, it's probably cool. I think the music's neat. It's a neat concept, but I don't think it's gonna hang here.
It's first one of the night. No, it's not gonna hang.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. It's a really robust package. And it is a very fun rhythm action game.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I've never been able to get past with all the Theatrhythm games is I fucking hate the aesthetic.
The look of that game is not great.
Yeah. As a rhythm game based around Final Fantasy music, it's kind of criminal that like they cut off the songs so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot play all of One Winged Angel in
Yeah.
this game.
Yeah.
Right. Now I understand if like in the main game mode they had like a truncated version of it because it's the main game mode.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's no way to play the full versions of some of these songs is criminal to me.
Right.
Like what are we even doing
That's
here?
kind of wild. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad we can safely get rid of that one then.
Yeah, I'm totally fine.
Yeah.
Saying goodbye to that one.
All right.
Okay. I am going to offer up Like a Dragon Ishin.
Okay.
Because there were two Like a Dragon games that came out in 2023, and I only think one of them even has a shot of hanging, and it's not Ishin.
I don't think it's Ishin. Yeah, and I liked Ishin as well. I thought it was pretty silly, and it was decent for what it was. I guess if we wanted to get technical, that is the one remake that is on our list.
Oh, you know what? You're right. Well, technicality though was never released in Japan or outside
in America.
Japan.
Well, sure, but still.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's it can go. I liked
Yes.
it, but it's it's not gonna stick around.
I liked it a lot. I really hope that they do the other one where he's Miyamoto Musashi, because I know a lot about Miyamoto Musashi, and that'd be really fun to play.
Right.
But unless Xavier has a rebuttal, but I don't.
No, I played the demo for that. I enjoyed it. It's another game, like a lot of the Like a Dragon games, I want to get into, but I constantly look at the 30 deep backlog of that series and get scared and run away.
Nah, it's fine. Just start it with it. Whatever. It's cool. No, it doesn't matter.
I will reiterate that. Like there are definitely things that you will get a deeper understanding of, right? Like the ones that I've played are half of 0, all of Kiwami 2, and all of 6.
Mm-hmm.
And that's given me enough of an of a window into Kiryu's past to have like the stuff hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
But then you have things, and like we might talk about this again when it gets brought up. But like a Dragon Gaiden is like a really cool side story that then gets completely invalidated 15 minutes into Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Like the actual ending of Gaiden is completely made irrelevant. And the more you play Infinite Wealth, it's like, oh, I didn't need to play Like a Dragon Gaiden at all, did I? Like none of this is actually like none of this stuck. Like this is all. It's very strange.
Yeah.
And you and I briefly talked about this earlier before we started recording, but I have played 0 and 1, which I think will give me enough knowledge of Kiryu going kind of into where we're at now. And I think Ichiban is a really good just kind of start fresh with the series. Yep. So I have played a little bit of Yakuza Like a Dragon. I want to go back, get into that, play that, so that I can play Infinite Wealth at some point.
Yeah. That's the way to go, for sure. Well, Xavier, it's back around to you, sir.
I think I recall. I don't think Justin even played this. I don't think Julian cared for it. The last time I was on NWP, I brought this game up and didn't super love it. Sea of Stars. I think I'm going to cut unless somebody.
Okay.
Oh, I'm down. Yeah,
about it.
You were the one I was the only person I was like, oh, maybe they're really into Sea of Stars.
It's a beautiful game. Like it never stops being beautiful, and the story does eventually have something to say, which I don't think is really a factor early on. But it just last year and really the past few years, we've had a lot of really strong JRPGs that are really a lot of strong like throwback. Go in for that nostalgia style. Octopath 2 does a great job of like look at a modern take on this older style of game. I just don't think Sea of Stars hangs.
Me neither.
I only played the demo, but I was really turned off by the battle system. It felt like needlessly long. And a little bit more complicated than I would have liked. And then I just really didn't like the cut of the character's jib. Like I was like, I don't know if I want to like hang out with you guys for 30 hours.
Yeah, I wasn't super into it. Almost anything it was doing. It was adorable. I guess I would put it that way. But like I don't know. It's just not super my thing. So
it is some of the most gorgeous sprite art I've ever seen.
Very pretty game. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And to the people that like it, that's cool. I'm glad for you. All right.
I think there are better RPGs on this list in 2023.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, I guess it's back around to me. Let's see. I could put up a hard one, or oh no, I should probably bring it up. Xavier, how into Eternites are you? Is that one
I am not into it enough that I think it's going to make this list. I just wanted it to be here at some point for it. Really, more than anything else, you guys briefly talked about it or touched on it when you talked about this on NWP, but this game was made by like a person that dropped out of school, and he had, I think, a couple people on his team, like 4 or 5, and then hired a bunch of stuff like outsourcing for different characters and for different, animating this or voices. And it just really impresses me with how much of a cool, kind of watered down Persona flavored game is there. The combat is weak. I think that it kind of lacks any weight to it, so it kind of just feels like you're hacking into the ether. And some of the story stuff it has the like early Persona flavor of where they just kind of say something extremely problematic and then kind of bounce into like a really serious, completely unrelated subject. But the game overall, like, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun time, and really impressive what was able to be done.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting game. Like, I didn't end up going back to it yet. Like, I actually would like to finish it because it's so weird. And like it feels like it's going places and I want to see what type of weirdness it gets to.
Right.
But yeah, like Xavier said, like it's a very middle of the road type of game, right? Like it, graphically it's very lackluster. Combat is very, by the numbers. It's very cliched as far as like the characters, at least from what I've seen so far. But then at the same time, it's like you'll just see some stuff and it's like, okay, yeah, what is going on here though? And I do want to see that eventually, but even in like a light year, like, like 2019 or 2020, like I don't think it still would have like made it onto a top 10, but especially in a year like this, like it's just not going to do it.
Right.
But thank you for playing Eternites.
Indeed. Good show. All right. I think
back around to me then.
Yep, back around to you.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to put one out here that I know is an excellent game that I barely played.
Okay.
But I could see getting some pushback from Xavier and possibly from Justin.
Okay.
I don't know what you got up to on the break.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to put up Armored Core 6.
Yep, I'm down with that.
I'm not sure if it sticks on this list.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I didn't play it at all after I've looked at that game I don't know how many times on my Steam list, and every time I'm just like, I just don't want to. A lot
not in the mood. Eventually I will be in the mood.
Yeah, maybe I will be, but I don't. I think I know people have said, like the first boss is like a filter. It'll filter people out. I feel like I did get properly filtered. I got through it, and I was like, okay, I guess I could keep going. But like even like stuff I've seen, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that because I've watched more of it, and I'm just not. Personally, I don't know if that one's for me or not. So it might be one of those games that I just look at on my Steam list for a long time going forward and go, man, maybe one of these days I'll play that, or it'll just eventually get uninstalled. I'm not sure.
I love it for it being a Armored Core game, but having you can see all that, like they've learned so much, in the 10 plus years that they've been doing, the Souls games. Yeah. And you can see like a lot of those like game design influences in there in really smart ways, right? But it still feels like a quintessential Armored Core game. Yeah. But that's also a double-edged sword for me because one of my complaints about the older Armored Cores that I think is still here is that you can't just like make a mech that you like and beat the game with it. Like you have to constantly be like updating your mech to, with different parts to like handle the situation, which is cool.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I just want to make an Optimus Prime looking mech.
You just want to do it.
Just do the Optimus Prime thing, and I can't.
Yeah.
So
I just want a custom Robo game. Give me a new custom Robo game.
Never played custom Robo.
Oh, I love
there you
those
go.
games. So, question. How many do we have left here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, God. I definitely thought we were a lot closer to 10. Good grief. All right. I'm going to go ahead and just fall on the sword. I'm going to cut Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I know it's not going to make this list. Neither of you really like Star Wars that much. And I don't think either of you like this game style. Well, their version of this type of game very much. I love the first one. I love this one. So at one point I was like extremely hardcore Star Wars. I'm still pretty hardcore Star Wars, but the sequels did eventually break me a little bit. And like the Disney Plus watered down MCU Star Wars like wave pool of constant content drown, kind of hurt me. I think the Jedi Survivor story is really interesting. I think it's got a lot of really cool things to say. It ties back to the Old Republic. It kind of gets away from the Luke Vader centric storytelling that a lot of the other Star Wars stuff kind of gets hurt by. I really did enjoy the combat for this. I thought the kind of open world stuff had a lot of cool and interesting things to offer. And some of the force powers make you feel powerful in a way that feels really tactile and fun. I love this game. It's in my top 10, but it's not even at the top of my top 10. And I know it's not going to hang for this group of us. So
probably.
Yeah. I liked a little bit that I played of the first game. And then, but what turned me off of getting into the second one was it was like, oh no, it is very much a sequel, and they really want you to have played that first one. I was like, I don't know if I have it in me to play, these back to back, so I just never got around to it. Yeah. We'll see, maybe one day. But it is a much tougher sell with Star Wars for me these days. Having said that, when I heard that they're re-releasing Episode 1 for the 25th anniversary in theaters, I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to go see that. Absolutely. Because, like, Duel of the Fates, in a nice big theater sound system is, like, that's always a good time.
I'm really hoping, I have an IMAX in my city, and I'm really hoping that they put it in IMAX, because I think they did IMAX for the last re-release they did. And I just want to see all that. It's a beautiful glory.
Yeah. All right. Well, dear Forspoken, you have hidden in this list for long enough. It is time for you to go bye-bye. Why are you still here? Sincerely, Justin Ham.
Yeah.
Okay, look. I didn't finish Forspoken, but it's not because I don't intend to.
Yeah.
I really like Forspoken, and I think it is a game that it seems to be getting, like, a little bit more respect lately.
Okay.
It is a far better game than, what people, got the impression of, like, before the game release.
Yeah.
It is a gorgeous game. It's got a very interesting, like, combat and traversal system.
Yeah.
I think a big problem of it, and I think it's a little bit of a tragedy, because I was trying to think of how many games have a black woman as the protagonist, and I was hard pressed to really think of any other than, like, Half-Life Alyx.
Right.
And it really sucks that Frey is just a aggressively unlikable character. Like, she seems to go out of her way to make you not like her, and it doesn't help that, her cuff, like her sidekick, also doesn't like her, and she doesn't like him, and so it's just like a lot of needless, like, sniping at each other ad nauseum. Like, that really does detract from what is otherwise a very fun game to play.
Right.
it definitely
Yeah.
it went in stealth mode from the beginning.
It did. I've been looking. I was like, well, I was kind of leaving it there. I was like, somebody's gonna see it and be like, okay, we can probably get rid of that, right? And I was like, well, nobody's done it yet. What are we doing? So yeah. All right. Well, that's
okay. Oh no, I've actually got another easy cut that I can do.
All right, there we go.
Next one, simply because it's a game that I keep forgetting about, even though I super enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Which is Oxenfree 2.
Okay. Yeah.
It is a game that I thoroughly enjoyed when I played it.
Yeah.
And then proceeded to fall out of my brain. And every time that I've been thinking about 2023 releases, it ends up being oh, Oxenfree.
Right.
That is always the response. And even on this list,
interesting.
I actually remember I put it on the list higher just because in my brain I've trained myself to be like, don't forget about Oxenfree 2. Don't forget about Oxenfree 2.
Yeah.
But sadly, it's just not going to make it here. But this is my time to tell listeners that, if you forgot about Oxenfree 2, you should go play Oxenfree 2.
Mm-hmm.
That studio does some of the best organic dialogue in video games.
Okay.
And it's also a generally interesting story. And
yeah, I think a big thing is for me when it comes to Oxenfree 2 is I don't think I would have enjoyed watching it as much had I not been watching it with somebody who was familiar with the first game to explain certain parts that were happening, because you kind of do.
Fair.
You kind of do have to know that stuff.
Yeah,
it's pretty important.
It's much more of a direct sequel than I was expecting it to be.
And that's cool. That's awesome. But at the same time, it's it's very important that you have at least played that game, because there are pretty important and cool plot points that come from that.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, I mean, okay, I guess it's on Xavier now.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
So the last two games cut were both games that I've been kind of eyeing, but I remember enough
People
positives
liking
being
them.
said that I'm like, I don't know how high this ended up. And I think that's they're either games that I've never played and I don't know anything about, or I think somebody might be interested in them.
Right.
Based on the talk that we all had on it, Final Fantasy 16. Where are you guys at on that? I'm kind of. It did not ultimately make my top 10. I think with it being a Final Fantasy game, I think it did enough right. I could see it on the top 10. I'm not going to push for it to be there.
Xavier, the reason why it's on it's as low on the list as it is because I forgot it came out.
Yeah.
I didn't actually add it to the list until I started looking at that list of all the games that came out in 2023, and I was like, "Oh shit, right, that happened."
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I think we can go.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of things that I like about that game.
Yeah.
And I would like to see Creative Business Unit 3 take another stab at it, but especially after seeing what they're doing with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and really being very faithful to the tone of the original game and not being afraid to have silliness and levity and stuff like that. It just makes 16 stand out all the more. Where it's why did you guys go so grim dark at the expense of everything else? I don't understand it.
I played the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo today. It's a 70-ish minute demo. I laughed twice, which I think is 2 more times than I laughed in the entirety of 16.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Oh, you got come on, give Byron Rossfield his.
Byron Rossfield was pretty good. Yeah. I mean, that game has its moments, and its highs are very high. It's probably in my top 10 somewhere. I didn't really order my top 10. I just put a bunch of games down and was like, these are somewhere in there. If you guys aren't as high on it, and I'm not particularly high on it either, we could probably get rid of it. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
it pains me to do it because I am a huge Final Fantasy fan.
Highs are very high. Music's fantastic. Some of the character moments are really, really good. But there are also things that I'm like, I don't know.
I don't think any of the three of us want it gone, but none of us are going to hold on to it.
I mean, we
staying
could leave it there and come back.
We could, but I'm telling you right now, there are 10 other games on this list that I
fair.
would much rather
That's fair.
fight for.
All right. Well, if it's back around to me, I would like to take charge. I want to do something unprecedented. I think I'm ready to cut 2 things. I am aware. Listen. I am one was already brought up, and I've thought about it, and it can go. That is Fire Emblem Engage. I love Fire Emblem Engage. But I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I'm just a sucker for tactics games. I know I am. We can probably cut it. Unless somebody else wants
and
to do that.
I do want to say, like, me cutting it being my least favorite game, it's because the stuff that didn't work for me actively pushed me away from it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
The couple of things, I mean, the map design, that was a big issue I had with Three Houses, which I love that game. That's a phenomenal game, in my opinion. Every single map is an open, grassy field with, like, rocks or walls, like, randomly throughout. The map design on it was awesome. I actually thought that the emblem system did some really cool stuff and let you kind of custom make a character where, okay, they're weak at this, let me give them this lord and whatever.
Yeah, I think the tactics and stuff in it are really good when you like kind of, get in there and start fucking around and doing some of that stuff. But like, and I think the story is so bad it's good territory to me because it's terrible, but I love to make fun of it. But yeah, no, it's not going to stick around. I know that, and that's fine.
I also just have to say that I really don't like the way they handle like the boss type units in that game.
Oh yeah, they do some shit. There's a couple fights that are like borderline unfair. If you don't and you wander into stuff, but and the other one I would like to throw up here is one that I don't think is going to stick around with you guys because I doubt either of you played it. I'm the only one that does, and I just want to talk about it for a little bit, and that's Videoverse.
What is this?
I played it a while ago. We had a whole discussion about it, Julian, where I told you about it. It's a little like kind of visual novel-esque game where
I remember now. Yes, thank you, because I do want to play this.
Yeah, you should play it, and I'm gonna champion it for a little bit, and then we can cut it. It's. Yeah, it had a really cool style. The entire thing revolves around like I would equivalent it with like a Dreamcast style online thing of like a dying system, and like the new one is already out, but its online is still there, and it has its own community going, but like it's the dying days, and everybody's getting nervous about that. And in these dying days of this, online thing for this console, this kid meets this girl on there and starts talking to them through like basically the girl is really good at drawing fan art of his favorite game, which is feudal fantasy. And they kind of start having a connection, and you can kind of go different ways where you can kind of like try to romance the girl, or I don't know how old the kid is. He's younger. But it eventually kind of, snowballs into eventually you learn that your character is going to the place where she lives, and you kind of bring up like, hey, it would be cool if we hung out or whatever. And she does not want to do it. And then she stops talking to you forever. Well, not forever, but, what it turns out to be is like, long story short is, the girl is, in a wheelchair, and you don't know that the entire time. You're having like video chats with her and stuff like that. And it's a really like sweet story that goes into a lot of stuff, and like it was great. I really liked it a lot. But yeah, I know it's
my reminder in editing to add it to my Steam list.
Yeah, you should. It's fantastic.
I just bought it on my Steam Deck.
Yeah,
so.
it's a phenomenal game. Like it's really, really good. The other part of the game is you roll around and like kind of report for like people on like, message boards and stuff that are like harassing other people and shit like that. And it's really cool. It's a really, really cool game. It has a really awesome premise. People should check that one out. There's definitely 10 better games on here. It's 100% in my top 10, but, I know it's not going to hang, so we can go ahead and get rid of it.
Okay.
But Videoverse, very, very good. Everybody should check that one out if you want to play something kind of sweet but sad at the same time, you know?
Yeah. That's what I love about, this type of deliberation is that it kind of, gets, allows listeners to like maybe get clued into some stuff that they might have missed.
Indeed.
And that sounds interesting. All right. I'm gonna pull this trigger.
Okay.
And if I get pushback on this, I'm going to be surprised.
Okay.
But I'm pulling it anyway.
Okay.
Starfield, thank you for playing. But
Yeah.
you are not in the top 10. Goodbye.
Yeah, it can go. It can go. It was probably in mine just because I couldn't think of anything else. But very, very low. It was like dead at the bottom.
And look, I enjoyed it a lot. It is
Me
the
too.
only Bethesda RPG that I've played to completion.
I
And-
enjoyed it enough, but after going back to like Skyrim and being like, oh yeah, what like kind of makes these games that I like? Starfield has like almost none of that. Like it's just not what you want out of a Bethesda game, and it's tough to say what you want out of one of those. But like, I don't know, the ability in Skyrim to just like, all right, I'm on the map and I'm just gonna go this way and see what happens, just kind of isn't there for Starfield. And the characters are all boring as shit. Like,
Yeah.
it's
a real problem that the entirety of the characters that are part of your party, quote unquote, are all the same moral alignment.
yeah.
And
It's terrible.
and again, as maybe it's my fault for wanting to play, a version of Han Solo before he hooked up with the rebels. Right. Like just an actual like smuggler scumbag. But the fact that like every single character is like, man, I really disapprove of you and everything that you stand for, like constantly, and it's like, well, fuck off. Like I don't want to be with you anyway.
The
Like,
worst part of about that is that like, okay, there are storylines where you eventually like you get to the end and there's like a choice to be made, right? Some of them are kind of vague as to like what choice is the right one. Like, okay, the best storyline I thought in the whole game was like the I forgot what their name is, which says a lot about the game, but the military storyline, right? So the military storyline goes through this whole like big thing where like you join the military, you go out to this thing, and you get attacked by what do they call those, terramorphs, and
Sure.
you have this whole thing where you run around and you lure them places, and it's to show how like terrifying these things can be, and it's cool. Then they attack New Atlantis at some point. And you're like, how the hell did that happen? That's crazy. But they do like some neat stuff where like the terramorphs can like, if they'll hit you with certain attacks or some shit, and it'll like start making your brain like start playing weird audio cues and shit like that. It is pretty neat. Like you're tripping, like your character's going nuts, which is cool. The entire revelation of it is really neat too, because they figure out that terramorphs, which is the number one bad thing in the galaxy, are actually just those heat leeches when they get exposed to certain things. And so, like there's that. So now we got to deal with the terramorphs, right? Got to deal with them. We got to get rid of all the heat leeches because that's what terramorphs are. Okay, how do we do it? All right, there's two ways. Either we found this animal that will hunt them all down, and we're gonna put them on every planet, and they're just gonna eat them up. And that's how we'll deal with it. Or we release some virus into the thing, right? Okay, and then that will kill all the heat leeches. It's pretty safe, probably. We don't know. There's like a point. There's a 1% chance that it's not. So we'll go with that. And that's the debate that you have. You either release this animal that's not, native to these planets, or you have the big virus or whatever, right? So if you don't pick the virus, all of your people in Constellation will yell at you about it. They only want that one choice. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with the fucking game. It's like, that's a pretty like, oh man, I don't know what the right choice would be there, right? Like that's what they're going for, but you only have one actual choice what you can pick where somebody won't be mad at you. Starfield should go. That game. Now I'm thinking about it. That pisses me off.
I actually ended up turning on Starfield, and I think last time I talked to you guys, I was pretty negative on it. I came around. I ended up having a lot of fun. Fuck both of you. Samco is fun.
Okay.
I will not stand for that. He and his daughter can just be put in an airlock for all I care.
So he was the. I assume at some point we're going to have to get a little spoilery. I'm not going to go spoilery. On Starfield yet.
It's game of the year. It's time. You know, we probably should have put that up front. Hey, there's going to be spoilers in this. Yeah.
There's a mission where you have to. God, I'm not going to be able to remember exactly what happens. You're in Constellation. It's one of the story missions, and you have to like pick where you're going and what you're doing, and like you're going to lose a person. And Samco was the one that I had spent the most time with and ended up losing. And a lot of this is absolutely because, you know, I've got, at this point, my son is just under 2 years old. I'm a giant baby emotionally anyways for like anything, but like anything that has to do with like parenthood really fucks me up. So I think a lot of that just worked for me because of that. Like it didn't work for me because it was well written. It just kind of hit me where
they're not very well written.
Was. But a lot of the game did end up doing a lot of fun things and things that I enjoyed. But the second I put it down and walked away from it for like a week, I don't know that I will ever replay it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah. And I love to replay Bethesda games. This is the one where I'm like, I can't see myself going back to it. And that's
even with
crazy
like Fallout 4, which I really didn't like, I will still like boot it up and put 15 hours into like a random character and bounce off of
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Same here. And this one I can't, and it's got some cool shit in there. Like I love the entire reason for like why they had to go to space. Like I think that stuff is cool. There's cool shit. Some of the aesthetic is kind of neat. But at the end of the day, I don't know what it is about it. They shot really hard for that New Game Plus thing to be like
which was cool. It was cool. It just wasn't cool enough.
Cool. That is cool. I agree with you. That is cool. But here's the thing, and then I'm gonna steal this line from Jeff Grubb from Giant Bomb, who said this line, and I was like, oh my god, he's right. That's exactly what happened. Bethesda probably seen like a game like Skyrim and go, wow, people just keep playing this thing. We have to make a game that people will play forever. And that's what they did with this thing, where like they wanted it to be like, oh man, every time you start up a new playthrough, it's going to be different, and it's going to do all this stuff, and people are just going to play forever. And it's like, no, that's not why people keep playing Skyrim. But like they want to make new characters and do stupid shit, and then there's the mod scene. That's what keeps it going a lot of the time. I feel like they've hardcore missed the point on
the New Game Plus. Ended up doing almost the opposite for me, where it encouraged me on subsequent playthroughs to, okay, this character is going to do one big side quest, and then I'm going to chuck them into the distance and never look at them again and get a New Game Plus version of, a different character.
Or either that, or you're just going to gun it through the main quest and then, pick which version of New Game Plus that you're going to fucking actually, stick with and play for a while. Like it kind of defeats what people like to do with these games. Like, I don't know. There was a lot of...
For me, because I was role-playing so hard as my character, the idea of it still being the same character for New Game Plus, and so I started like the military quest, but I'm like, but this guy, like, he's anti-military, he's anti-establishment. Like this is wrong. Like I don't. If you could like, if it was some sort of like thing where it was like you're reincarnating like certain stats and stuff into a new character, but then you can still like basically make a new character from scratch. But again, but that's not what they want you to be the same person.
They want you to be the same person. It's an important aspect of it. And also they have all these systems where it's like, oh, go build, a big cool ship. and none of that stuff doesn't carry over. Or go build a cool base on a planet and have you can have a whole like trading system and stuff like that going on, and that doesn't carry over. So like, so you get into this spot where you're like, well, I don't want to end this game to see the other stuff because I lose all of this stuff that I spent hours of my life building. I don't know, man. It super doesn't work. It was kind of a bad idea that they were really, I think, banking on, and like, yeah, it's Starfield, man. It bums me out. It's one of those things that like I've slowly turned on after I played, like you were talking about, Xavier, where I'm just like, yeah, I can't see myself ever playing this thing again. Yeah.
It's interesting how that can also change like people's perception of reality, right?
Yeah.
Because Starfield was a very successful game.
Yes.
Like extremely successful. But you will hear people talking about it as if it somehow is like, you know, spelling the end of Bethesda because like it was such a disaster. And it's like, well, no, it wasn't. I think it continues to highlight the deficiencies that Bethesda has, but that's been happening for years now.
Yeah.
Right. But it still did extremely well, right? It's and you know they're going to continue to add to it and work on it.
I'm sure. They've already been. There's been a couple updates to it, and I don't know. As far as I know, the modding scene's like not really like super taken off or anything like that. But I could be wrong. I haven't really looked into it. I don't really have much interest. There is things I think from a standpoint of that where I'm just like, with the procedural generation, I don't know how far you could go with like a modding scene in that, because a lot of people, for example, Skyrim, a lot of people love to make like their own locations or their own take on a location or something like that. That's a big part of modding. Like, this is my Whiterun. This is what it looks like. And you go in there and like, oh, they did some cool changes here. This is pretty neat. In Starfield, there's like, you know, a couple locations that you can go to like that. But like let's say if somebody was like, I changed all the mines in Starfield and made them all unique. And then you go to a planet, it's like, okay, but I can't find one of them because I don't have any here, or something like that. You know, it's tough. I feel like the biggest thing you could do in that space is like, somebody at some point is going to be like, I have gotten rid of all the procedural generation and handcrafted every planet. And it's like, that's an insane thing for you to do. But now it will become the one thing that everybody has to download to mod Starfield. That will be what happens. Mark my words on this. I think they can figure out how to do that.
Procedural generation it only works for very specific things. Yes. Right. And it's usually like something that you're going to be doing as a repetition anyway, like a dungeon crawler or, you know, like Diablo, right? Like those are they've always been procedurally generated, because you're just doing the same thing over and over to get, you know, to fight tougher enemies, to get better loot, to do it, you know, to do it again. Yeah. But something like an like a story-based single player RPG, I think that is the wrong way to go. Yep. And yeah, it's a choice.
Yeah. All right. How many games do we got left?
We have 13 games now, and so I feel that like now is the time to stop like going around the room and cutting. Okay. And now it's time to have like tougher discussions.
Well, here's my pitch. Justin has to go eat dinner. Okay. So that's what I was like, is this might be a good time for me to take a break for a second and let's think about where we're at here. Okay.
Let's take a word from our sponsors.
Yes.
And when we come back, we will finish cutting down to 10 and then create our ordered list of 10 from there.
Indeed. All right.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Lorne Chaney is a hot-headed rookie detective. You have the right to my boot up your ass. Pamela Starling does it by the book and hates dogs.
If there's one thing I hate, it's dogs.
Now, this unlikely pair are partners on the mean streets of Hoboken. But Lorne has a dark secret. He's a werewolf. Lupine Law. Fridays at 9. Check out local listings.
The Stage Select is made possible through the support and funding of viewers like you. Here are our wonderful patrons.
The following patrons are subscribed at the executive producer tier, Legacy. We'd like to thank Bookie, Casey Curran, David Portnov, Xrian, Philip Becker, Stephen Lobo, and Xavier Krieger. Thank you. We appreciate it. All right, and we're back. Here is where we stand. I feel it's good to go ahead and just list off what we have left. We have 13 games. We need to whittle it down to 10 and then put these in order. Currently, we have Hi-Fi Rush, Octopath Traveler 2, Street Fighter 6, Baldur's Gate 3, A Space for the Unbound, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Goodbye Volcano High, Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and Lies of P.
All right.
And as I said before the break, I think that now is the time to start having like serious discussions. I don't think we're at a point now where we can just like each of us cut one of these three games.
The easy stuff is probably gone. So
yes, the things that I have left on this list, I would fight for any of them getting cut right now. So,
I actually think I have a pretty easy first cut.
Okay. Put it up there.
It's a game I don't think Justin played at all. You, Julian, played it, but liked it, didn't love it. I maybe loved it, didn't like completely. Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. Okay.
I know. I feel like you guys both think that I came here to fight for that game.
I wasn't sure.
I love Tears of the Kingdom. I had a great time with it. I put a ton of hours into it. There's a lot of mechanics in it that I thought like really made me love a style of game that I never thought that I would. The story had a couple parts that like for a Zelda story, i.e. nothing, kind of brought me in and actually gave me like, was that an emotional beat that just resonated with me in a Zelda game?
Yeah.
But it really, I'm going to say this and piss off a lot of people that are coming to a new podcast.
It's okay.
It really felt like Breath of the Wild 1.5. I think it had a lot of the shortcomings that if Breath of the Wild didn't work for you, this didn't really do anything to like change things up and bring people in.
Right.
And I just don't think that it's gonna. I don't think it belongs on this list.
Okay.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, I did expect you to fight for it. I tried.
Yeah.
Like, I actually restarted it when I was on vacation, and like I took my Switch with me when I went out of town to go for training at my new job, and I didn't even touch it once.
Yeah.
Part of that is that I was just pretty tired. I wasn't sleeping well in that hotel, and also like I was like editing like one of our Patreon specials. But even so, I just didn't even feel like the inclination to fire it up and play it. And I think it's cool. I honestly think it, the stuff that they did, right? Like, it's very clear that, like, they had this idea to make this building mechanic, and they made sure that thing worked and worked well, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's awesome. I think it's really cool. And I'm not even one of those people who thinks that like a sequel has to be like significantly different than the previous, right? Like,
right.
Zelda is one of those series where, there tends to be a long time between games, and as such, they're very different, but also kind of the same.
Yeah.
We're splitting hairs. But I think for me, it's just that, yeah, like you said, Xavier, it's like the combat was never my cup of tea in Breath of the Wild, and it's unchanged here. And that was an extra hard pill to swallow after Elden Ring, which I think does so much of the Breath of the Wild open world thing, but then adds like just phenomenal combat to it and like really deep RPG mechanics. And again, I think I've said it multiple times. It's like, if I could somehow mash those two games together, but also put in a story that I gave a shit about, that might be like one of my favorite games of all time, because, you know, I don't like the aesthetics of Elden Ring. I don't like the story or the characters, but I love the gameplay. I love the exploration. I love the leveling up. And then for Breath of the Wild, you know, you have just like that organic exploration and discovery that Elden Ring has a little bit of, but I think there's more of it in
probably,
you know, these two Zelda games. And then of course, you know, just like a gorgeous art style and you know, levity, right? Like, because there's no levity in Elden Ring. It's just, you know,
which is maybe what I like about it. I hate levity. We all know it. For me, I just hate puzzles. That's it.
Right.
That's really all I got. I just don't like puzzles. I tried with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom more than I did Breath of the Wild. I definitely gave it more of a shot, and I even went back with like my niece to be like, maybe if I have her here and she gets into it, maybe I can get going with this. But they didn't show much interest in it either, and I was already kind of not interested. And maybe that just shone through when I was playing it. I don't know. But yeah, I can't get into that game. It's cool. If there was a strong argument for it, I was like, oh yeah, no, like I can definitely see that making the list, and that's fine.
And that's you know, this did make my top 10. But it's at the lower part of it. Yeah. There's a lot of other games that I will fight like tooth and nail to get somewhere. And I just don't think this is one of them. But I don't, and you know, I'm speaking to no one here, but I don't want people to think that we're saying it's a bad game.
No, it's just
a great
not
game for this list.
Yeah.
So.
Hopefully you're speaking to a lot of people. Let's you know, let's dream bigger here.
It's not even that it's not for this list. It's just not in this group of people. It's probably not. It's the wrong audience for it. Xavier,
Tears of the Kingdom won enough praise and awards.
And it will continue to get that throughout the years. It's just we're probably not here. Sorry in advance. So yeah,
son of a bitch. I'm floored. I thought that was going to be a tougher. Like, I wasn't even going to touch it.
I was going to bring it up here in a little bit, but you know, he got it out. He ripped the Band-Aid off for us, so that's good.
I may have been holding that back for when I needed to trade something. I'll give up Zelda, I suppose.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All
so there's a couple here that I would be fine not seeing make it to the top 10.
Okay.
I mean, for me, obviously, Lies of P is one, right? And Like a Dragon Gaiden, thoroughly enjoyed it when I played it. I think the ending is phenomenal. And then, like I said, and you know, it kind of, now that it's kind of shitty to hold this against it. But again, I cannot reiterate just how much Infinite Wealth completely invalidates
that's interesting.
That entire adventure.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm curious of that.
Literally, the reason why Kiryu is in Hawaii at the explanation for him being in Hawaii at the end of Like a Dragon Gaiden is completely different in Infinite Wealth.
That's really weird.
It's bizarre.
Huh. I'm very curious. I haven't touched the new Like a Dragon yet. I'm planning on doing that like tomorrow. Yeah.
Does it get into any? And obviously this is a new game. We don't want to spoil it per se, but like, is any of the spy stuff from this come over?
A little bit, but not to the extent that you would think. Like,
right.
you would think that like one of Kiryu's job classes would be spy.
Yeah.
Right.
Or something.
But it's
right.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like they put that in there. Well, let's keep it in mind. Let's see. The one I keep looking at is Cyberpunk. I'm not going to lie to you. And it simply boils down to this. It's a DLC. I don't know where you want to qualify that for. No, it's a DLC, Julian. It is. You have to play. No. You have to play through the game to get to it. It's a DLC. I know it added a lot, but that's part of Cyberpunk 2.0. And then we get into, is this a remake territory because of that whole aspect? Cyberpunk came out in 2020 or whatever. It came out already.
Right.
That happened. Like, yes. And Phantom Liberty, it adds a lot of stuff. It is a good sized DLC, but it is a DLC, Julian. It's not a game.
I think that's doing it a huge disservice. I would call it an expansion.
Okay, expansion. Still not a full game.
I think coming out the same time as the 2.0 makes this a much more muddled conversation.
Yes.
Because it's hard to tell how much was purely attributed to this section of the game.
Right.
Versus was just part of the 2.0, people coming back. So I played Cyberpunk whenever Edge Runners came out. Played through the entire game. Thought it was fun to find depending on the time. Had a pretty good time with it. Tried to come back in because I'd heard so many good things about Phantom Liberty and was just like, it's too early for me to jump back into this
that makes
right
sense.
now.
Yeah, it's still Cyberpunk. It really is.
I don't have a huge fight here. I see why it could belong here.
I need to reiterate something. I loved it. I really did. The debate I'm having now is this a DLC or expansion or whatever you want to call it? Because technically the game came out in 2020 or whatever. Pretty sure it was 2020.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I'm specifically putting Phantom Liberty as the nominee.
I get it.
Because for me, it's like, okay, obviously it's come and gone, but like, let's say that like this year, you know, Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trail comes out and I'm actually caught up by that point and I play it. I'm like, that was amazing, right? I would want to at least have the discussion of putting that in Game of the Year contendership because it's an expansion, right? It didn't come out in 2013 when Final Fantasy 14 did. It came out in 2024, right? Like because it's almost like another game, right? And I feel that Phantom Liberty is almost like a not a sequel, but like a half-step sequel, you know, to the game. Like it's
an
a
expansion.
Very different.
You nailed it the first time. Expansion. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's a big thing. I'll just put my cards on the table. This is in my top 3 on my list.
I get it.
But
like I said, my debate is whether or not this qualifies. That's my entire thing. Not whether it was good or not. It was excellent. I loved it.
Yeah.
I cannot stress that enough. I really did like Cyberpunk, but my whole thing is, does this qualify? Because like, and even with your Final Fantasy 14 argument, I'm even like, I don't know if that qualifies either. Because it's, as we said, expansion. I feel like this is its own separate category away from Game of the Year. I feel like if you're going to do like, you know, expansion content or DLC, like that's its own category. That,
right.
Because then you get into like, I mean, Cyberpunk won ongoing game, you know, in the Game of the Year awards, and people were, you know, upset or whatever about that.
Which I thought was ridiculous because it, like, you know,
I did too.
Because they had been working on it ongoing since 2020, right?
Yeah,
and so like it, you know, and I think people got into their head that ongoing can only mean like an online game that has servers.
Right. And I fully agree with you on that. It deserved to win that category. It should have won. It made they practically remade a lot of stuff in that game to where like certain things are weird to go back to. Like there's no, like, clothes used to be armor in that game, and there's like no armor or anything like that, which I was like, that's good. That's probably how that should have been, because the clothes thing was stupid. I mean, it was neat, I guess, but at the same time, they reworked a lot of systems. Like it feels good to play it now, but at the same time,
I mean, the gunplay is some of the best that I've played in a game like that.
It's awesome. Believe me, it did not feel like that on release. Like it felt
I remember. Like
bad
I didn't play
play
it on release, but I did play it, you know, less than a year later.
But I think that's because of 2.0. That's not because of Phantom Liberty.
Right. That is 2.0, and that not for Phantom Liberty. Like we get into
what
it.
Phantom Liberty.
It added a section of the city. It added a new quest line and stuff like that. And that
and I know,
quest line is good.
Also I will say, because Justin, you were playing it on a high-end PC, so you didn't notice the leap. But it is, if you're playing it on console, it is a drastic leap in quality when you go from Night City to Dogtown.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
Like the density of the crowds, like the lighting, and then of course, I mean, and you can also tell just like the set pieces, right? Like it's a much bigger scoped thing, even though it's in this smaller section of the game.
Yeah,
like,
there's a whole
section. It feels like it was developed for current gen and not last gen, like the rest of the game.
Yeah, for sure. It adds a lot, but at the same time, like I feel like it belongs in its own category, and it would definitely 100% win like that category. But as far as game of the year of this year that came out, Cyberpunk came out in 2020. That's what I'm saying. It is an expansion to that 2020 game. I will grant you that. But at the same time,
I really disagree, but I know I can see I'm not going to win this, and there's other things that I would fight harder for.
Yeah, I get it. Like I said, it's a phenomenal game, Julie. It was an awesome
and that's the other
DLC.
thing too, right? Is that like Cyberpunk doesn't need more accolades.
No,
right? Like there are games on here that I think need more accolades that I would fight harder for. So even though it's very high on my list, my personal top 10.
Again, if we were doing best DLC, best expansion, 100%, not even a debate, that shit would win to me. Like 100%. But like we're doing games that came out this year, and that to me is where it gets muddy. It gets really muddy with Cyberpunk, and that's my whole thing. I think I wish the version that came out when Phantom Liberty came out when Cyberpunk came. I wish that's the version we got on release, like 2.0, because it would have been awesome, but that's not what happened. So, that's where I land on that. All right. Okay.
We have one more cut to make, and then we can start putting these in order. All right.
Julian has brought up Liza P. I have not played Liza P, but I can see where people would like that one. The other one, the one I'm personally looking at that I know nobody's gonna want to get rid of is Spider-Man 2. I don't give a shit about Spider-Man 2.
I don't think I can get rid of that one.
Yeah. I don't give a fuck about that game. I actively think it's not that great, but that's fine. We can leave it. It's fine. I get it. I understand. I know where we're at here.
So I might be wrong on this. I think Lies of P, Like a Dragon, and Goodbye Volcano High are the three games that only one person has played. Am I right on that?
Me and Justin both played Like a Dragon.
No, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Lies of P and Goodbye Volcano. I know Julian loves Goodbye Volcano, or at least I believe he does.
That is the one that I would really like to fight to get somewhere on this top 10, because I feel that it is a game that got completely ignored.
Yeah.
And
I very much meant to play Goodbye Volcano High and just did not get around to it.
You had one job.
Listen, I kind of, but during this hiatus, I've kind of like taken a nice relaxing break from video games. It's been very peaceful. I've been like, I don't have to keep up on things right now. This is nice. I'm gonna do that.
Must be nice to be a Time Lord and have finished everything.
I'll get there eventually, I guess. But yeah, okay. So, but no, it seems great. I own it. I bought it. I just didn't get around to playing it. Let's see. How are you feeling about Super Mario Wonder? I know it's good. I know it. But I mean, I could.
Am I the only one who played it?
No, I played it. I love it. It is in my top 10. I really would like it to make this list.
That's fair. I'm
Me too.
just checking where you guys are on that. Okay. I don't personally care that much about it, but I get it. That I played enough of it to know why people would like that game, so I get it.
I'm not proposing to cut this one because I think I would fight for it, and I think Justin would as well. Julian, did you go back and finish Hi-Fi Rush?
I did.
You did?
Actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I loved it. Like
Okay.
There's a reason why it hasn't been mentioned yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That one feels pretty locked to me.
That feels pretty locked. Octopath feels locked. Street Fighter feels locked. Baldur's Gate feels locked.
Baldur's Gate feels locked. Space for the Unbound for me is a lock. I don't know how Julian feels about it.
For me, it's a lock.
Okay, great.
I didn't play it. I have bought it. I really want to play it. It looks like something that I would love. So I really don't even want to cut it. And I want some smaller stuff on here.
Me too.
I don't want this to be a AAA. I will.
Yeah, no.
I forgot a game earlier to add to this list. I'm not going to try to add it now. But I do want to call out Vinba as a phenomenal game and a phenomenal experience that completely blew me away, had me emotional. I just want to at least mention it here.
No, we should. Yeah, that's another one.
I haven't fired it up yet.
Same here.
But
same here.
That's my Space for the Unbound and Goodbye Volcano High are both games that are smaller that I really feel like deserve to be called out somewhere, and I haven't seen them anywhere else. I think they deserve it here. I'm down for that. Okay, so you guys are high on Spider-Man 2. We have listen, Julian, I'm not opposed to getting rid of Like a Dragon Gaiden. I enjoyed it.
That's what I was going to say, is that you and I both played it, but I don't think either of us are super going to the mat
I liked it. It's in my top 10, but it's low. So I'm definitely, if that's where we're landing on that, I'm fine with that. Perfectly, 100%.
For me, my 10th spot ended up being a fight between Like a Dragon Gaiden and Mario Wonder.
Okay.
And just the joy and whimsy of Mario Wonder ended up winning out.
Makes sense.
For me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's the right call.
That's fine. Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell Xavier's high on Liza P, and I can see why it's very cool. So
yeah, I think each of us has our personal darling. For Xavier, it's Liza P. For me, it's Volcano High, and for Justin, it's Space for the Unbound.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Not that we don't have any crossover at all, but
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So right now what we now have 10 games. We have Hi-Fi Rush, Octopath Traveler 2, Street Fighter 6, Baldur's Gate 3, A Space for the Unbound, Goodbye Volcano High, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, and Lies of P.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And now we must put these into an ordered list of 1 through 10, and that will be the Stage Selects Game of the Year for 2023.
All right. How do you think is the best way to go about this?
So I think the bottom part of the list is kind of already pretty easy to talk about, because I feel that Mario Wonder, Goodbye Volcano High, Lies of P, and Space for the Unbound probably are all in that half of the list, right?
It's possible.
As a consensus.
As a consensus, the one that I hate to even say it because it's in my top 5. I love this game. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man 2, I don't want at the bottom of the list, but I think the middle of the list with how Justin feels about it.
That's fine.
The
middle,
4 to 7 areas kind of where.
That's kind of where I feel about it too.
Let me see. If I was, I'm thinking of if I was ordering this list, right, where I would start at my bottom. I think maybe Liza P would be at the bottom, and then probably Goodbye Volcano High. And the only reason for those being too low is because I didn't play them personally. And then probably Super Mario Wonder after that. This is just me. I'm just throwing it up there. This is how Justin would personally organize this list. Then actually, I think it might be Street Fighter 6 after that for me. I know that might seem a little low, but I'm not. I really like Street Fighter 6, but
I am not a fighting game person. I just don't typically like them. I did pick up Street Fighter 6, and I played it longer and enjoyed it more than I have with a Street Fighter game since I was playing whatever was in the arcades when I was, 8 years old. I think it is an incredible game, and I know that both of you guys loved it.
Oh yeah.
For me, this is this is the bottom out of these games, probably for me, because I think Goodbye Volcano High and Space for the Unbound, both the other two games that I haven't played, are games that I look at and the trailer fills me with a wonder and oh my god, this is gonna hit for me.
I goofed. Spider-Man 2 would be before Street Fighter 6, or after. You know what I mean? It'd be toward the bottom, for me. And then maybe Street Fighter 6, and then we get the way I see our top 5 personally is probably Hi-Fi Rush, Octopath Traveler, Baldur's Gate, Alan Wake 2, and then a mystery. Personally, I like Space for the Unbound. That's my third. That's my solid number 3 in my personal list. But
I would put Hi-Fi Rush in the bottom half personally. I loved it.
Yeah.
But well, I guess obviously all of this is subjective. It's all our personal experience. Hi-Fi Rush taught me that I have no rhythm, and that game is very it makes you feel bad when you realize that you don't have rhythm.
I don't have that problem, so yeah.
Yeah.
The parry system in Hi-Fi Rush being off the beat single-handedly drops that game 3 or 4 spots for me. I liked a lot about Hi-Fi Rush. I love that game. I am a big music person. I literally the entire time that we have been talking, I'm doing a steady tap of my foot. I just constantly have a music going through. And so the idea of a person that gets an iPod put in their chest and just the whole world be everything about that game had a magic to it. It's probably one that I also would see in the lower half.
Okay. I can
probably
see that in the lower
5 or
half
6.
too.
I don't want it, at 10.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's super low.
But I don't know that it's
okay.
So Octopath, Baldur's Gate 3, and Alan Wake 2, I feel are the games that multiples of us have that at the top of a list.
Yes, I'm gonna say our 3 kind of high ones are definitely probably Octopath, Baldur's Gate, and Alan Wake 2. I'm gonna say that's probably right. And then we get back to our bottom stuff.
So I would like to nominate. I feel that Mario Wonder kind of barely squeaked on. So to me, it makes sense to put it at 10. Also because it barely made 10 on my personal list.
Okay.
And
I think it was
you didn't play it,
mine,
Justin.
So.
And
yeah, I
think it was 9 on mine. So I'm happy with that. It being on the list.
Yeah,
that game rocks. That does so many cool things that
indeed.
I can't tell you the last time I played a Mario game and finished a session and was texting people about the cool shit that just happened.
Yeah.
It rocks, but I think for this list, it's kind of
I'm not particularly high on it. I mean, I threw it up there to be cut, so at 10, that sounds fine for me. So
okay, I think that's a good spot for it. I'm really glad that it made the top 10. I think it's a really special game.
It's awesome.
I think it's amazing how even by the end of the game they were still introducing new one-off level mechanics and stuff like that.
Yes.
It is very cool.
My niece really enjoys it.
Yeah, and also, me and Justin, famously not the biggest Nintendo fans in the world. So, I think it making it onto our first game of the year for this podcast, at all is awesome. A pretty big accomplishment.
All right, next up, let's see where are we falling on this number 9 spot.
So I know I just nominated one, but I'm fine with Goodbye Volcano High just making the list.
Okay.
So since I'm the only one who played it, I am perfectly fine with it being number 9.
Okay.
I just want to make it very clear that it is much higher on my personal list. And I think that it was like criminally underlooked. And again, like I said, like on a Patreon episode, the character designs are never not bad.
Yeah.
They're just objectively bad.
Yeah.
But the characters themselves are so good, and the story is so good, and like
it's funny you say that, and like looking at it, like the character designs aren't great. They're not like my favorite thing in the world, but like it's much better like in motion than I thought it would be. Like it's hard to explain that without seeing it, but like you hear it and like kind of hear what it is, and you don't expect it to look the way it does. And you're right, like you said, the character designs are what they are. But like it looks good in motion somehow. So
much like Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah.
It's like, is this a cartoon?
Yeah.
And actually, so I thought that Goodbye Volcano High was hand drawn animations, and then I saw like on Twitter they posted like them doing like the 3D modeling for the characters. Right. I was like, oh shit! Like I had no idea. Like that's how good it looks.
Yeah, it looks great.
Which I think is great, and like. To get real for a moment, like, look, this is supposed to be a comedy podcast and entertainment and blah, blah, blah. But like, just personally, like, I do feel that like we are witnessing the end times. Like, I think that like Horizon Zero Dawn is on our horizon, right? And it fucks with me like on a daily basis. And seeing like these kids in Goodbye Volcano High, like, slowly coming to grips with their world ending is some really powerful stuff. And like there are moments in this game that I still think about that just really hit me in the guts. And like, and also it's just a gorgeous soundtrack. I think that the voice actor who plays the main character Fang really nailed it. Apparently they're in that new Sabrina, or that recent Sabrina the Teenage Witch Netflix show, and they are non-binary, like in their personal life, and the main character is non-binary as well, and that's also really cool because you have this situation where the parents don't, they still treat them, they still call them by their dead name, and you use their old pronouns and stuff like that, and so it's like kind of this like push and pull of this very traditional family with this person who's really trying to find themselves and really invest in their music. It is a beautiful little story. But again, I'm totally fine with it just making it on the list. I'm so happy that it did.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it sounds great. I really, really should play it. And do plan to still. So
yeah, indeed. All right. With you throwing that on there, I think I'm going to take a similar note. I'm fine with this being the highest that Liza P gets. Especially with the two of you not having played it.
My biggest question I was just going to come out now. I was like, okay, what do you want here? Spider-Man 2 or Liza P? This is where something's going here.
So this is my number 3 game of last year. I do not like the FromSoft style of games, and I struggle to tell you why this game worked for me, other than the fact that it did have an actual story in the forefront that I think I need in that style of a game to kind of get me to want to play through. Once I hit a wall in a Bloodborne or an Elden Ring or whatever, like something to motivate me to keep going besides like the satisfaction of it that just doesn't work as much for me. I think there's a lot of things of like this game obviously is heavily inspired by Bloodborne. It obviously just fully lifts systems from those games in a way that is shameless. And so I see why some people have some issues with it. The concept of it, the idea of, you created these automatons that were supposed to help the world and bring us to a realm of peace and get us where nobody has to work and them going crazy and you being this, part human, part automatron that has to go through and kill all these rampaging puppets gone mad. I thought that was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
The way that it incorporates, I'm a huge sucker for any kind of fairy tale given a spin. The Fables comic books.
They have a lot of that in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And can I spoil the post-credit scene for the two of you? It completely has nothing to do with Lies of P.
I already seen it, and it's great. Yeah, you go ahead.
I'm never playing
The
it.
post-credit scene of this is a woman showing up on the rooftops of the city, and it zooms in on her ruby slippers, which she clicks the heels twice, and it you hear her say something about this isn't Kansas anymore. And so this is going into a Wizard of Oz.
They're doing a whole thing. I kind of dig it.
Cannot wait for where this game is going. I love this game. It was the first of this style to really work for me.
Yeah.
It gave me where the combat finally clicked to the point that I have re-downloaded Elden Ring and Bloodborne, just kind of waiting for the time to come for me to jump back in. And,
sounds good.
And see if I can get into those games and see all the things. Because I've never been, I mean, I am kind of fuck 'em, but it's never been like I don't want to enjoy those. I just try and don't, and it frustrates me.
Yeah,
I want to see if I can use this as a springboard to get into that kind of game.
Hell yeah.
Okay, the idea of them taking any of the what do you call it? Like the
public domain
Disney stuff and making the dark Disney universe is kind of cool to me.
It's kind of cool.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess Wizard of Oz isn't Disney.
It isn't Disney, but
not,
close
but
enough.
It's that fairy tale magical kind of.
Yeah.
Same vibe. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea. Why not do it?
Yeah.
I'm
next game they can totally have you fight Steamboat Willie.
Absolutely.
They could. Yeah.
And then Winnie the Pooh. Just make a Kingdom Hearts game that has a more tangible story and much better combat.
Yeah, exactly. I'm into it.
Yeah.
All right. So Spider-Man 2 after that, right?
Man, I can't condone that, dude.
Oh, come on. It's not even that good.
I just, this game, I played so much of this game.
It's not even that good.
75% of that game is fan-fucking-tastic.
It's like 50, if that even.
No,
it's
come
not that
on,
good.
man.
Pretty boring.
The movement, at the very least, which is such a huge chunk of the game, I think never stops being fun.
The spot where you just glide around the city the entire time because they just put that in there, and why wouldn't you use
the part
that?
where you glide around the city. I fucking love that part. Screw both of you. He has wings in the comics. That does not break the game or the canon. I love his little web.
He has, but they're not. He doesn't use them that way in the comics. That's my issue.
So here, we don't have to necessarily go after this one point. I will give you that if you give a similar pushback to his stupid ass Tony Stark fucking legs that he grows out of his back, which I actually...
No, I hate that too.
Yeah. As long as we hate both of them, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that was a thing in the first game, and when they came out at in the tutorial for the second, was like, oh god damn it, I forgot that those are in here.
And it's literally only because Miles has cool powers, and they're like, well, fuck, Peter has nothing unique to him. We got to give him these stupid spider legs,
which I think is, and I think that's dumb because, and again, I think I was talking about that, when we talked about it on Nerds Without Pants, is that why isn't Spider-Man cool enough? He's fucking Spider-Man. His basic kit is still really fun, right?
fun.
Miles has more stuff to do.
Yeah.
But
I mean, not
but
to
it's
mention,
different, right?
Story-wise, it's just they just Kraven's kind of, he's fine, I guess, but he's the strongest man ever who needs a lot of help. He needs a lot of help.
Yeah.
A lot of guys.
I will grant you, so I think the villain part of Spider-Man 2 is the weakest overall. I think that for me, the story really is the character stuff for Peter and Miles and their supporting cast
and that
interacting
stuff is
with them.
Fine, but it's not that great to me.
Oh, I think some of it, the is it the Cultural Museum where there's a person that's grifting, instruments that are played by famous musicians, mostly of color, if not all of color, and you track them down, and you not only are the missions, I think, fun in that section, but you get great history of all these kind of origins of different types of music, how they blend together. You learn a lot more about about Miles and his background, and then you get a dope ass 1920s jazz suit at the end of it. The mission with the deaf girl that's going around doing the graffiti.
That one is good. Yeah.
Like, I think that this game has side missions that are absolutely phenomenal, do a great job of diving into not only the main two characters, but characters and archetypes that you don't typically see in games, especially not a AAA first-party Sony release, in a way that brings them to the forefront. I love this game, and I do think I also have to push back on 7.
Okay.
Even like the main story beats, right? Like, I really enjoyed like the stuff with like, excuse me, I'm not getting choked up. I just had something in my throat, because I do get choked up sometimes, but this isn't one of the games that does it. But like the stuff with like, Peter and Harry and MJ, like them reconnecting and stuff like that. I think that stuff is very interesting and good. Like I enjoy like, Miles kind of trying to deal with being a hero, but also having to deal with getting into school and stuff like that. But having more and more of the responsibility thrust on him because Peter is becoming less and less reliable, I think is very interesting. Again, Justin, I think you're right. I think a lot of the villain stuff it's
very lame.
It's bad.
Is like sometimes actively bad, right?
Yeah,
like,
and
I think Craven as like the main big bad for the first half of the game was a mistake.
Not
and I
to
think
mention,
that they completely botched Venom.
Just bringing up certain parts of the whole alien symbiote thing that they should probably never bring up again because it wasn't good the first time. So why do it again? Yeah.
I am a big Craven fan. Like, I love the character of Craven. I think Craven's Last Hunt, which this is largely based on, is a much better version of this story.
Yeah.
But yeah, Craven in this really didn't work for me.
He should have been a really awesome, long-ass boss fight. Like, it should have been the Mr. Freeze from Batman Arkham City of Spider-Man 2.
Him in a cutscene, again, spoilers for all these games. Spoilers for the rest of this podcast. In this game, him in a cutscene killing Peter was fucking stupid. Like, that was a bad moment where Craven just, like, grabbed Peter, stabbed him. They just needed to get the symbiote onto Peter. That was the only reason it happened.
Right, yeah.
But it made no sense. There's no reason that he should have been able to do that. It has horrible moments, but I think that most of this game is phenomenal. And when you... There are aspects of the main story and a lot of the side quests that are high points of this year for me.
And I think a big thing for me, and I think sometimes, like, especially Justin and I can lose sight of this because we're very big story focused people. It's very, very fun to play.
I don't think it's that fun to play personally. I think it's fine.
Yeah,
but I think I don't know, it just doesn't do anything for me. I don't know what it is about it, but just doesn't. So yeah, I mean, it's not a bad game by any stretch. I mean, I played through the whole thing.
I mean, that's the thing is, none of these are like,
none of these are bad. This one wouldn't have made my top 10 at all, but that's just where I'm at on it.
And honestly, I feel that for this slot, I feel better putting A Space for the Unbound. I love this game. For me, a big thing is that it is very much like there are sections of the game where it's like, okay, I need to go do this thing, but to do that thing, I need to do this thing, but to do that thing, I need to do this other thing, but to do that, I need to do this other thing, and you're like 8 levels deep on a thing before you finally like get to finishing the first thing on your list, and it does that enough times where it's like, okay, I'm kind of upset with you now.
Yeah, it takes
for the Unbound.
I didn't have that issue with it. I can see where you would though. Like what you're saying is valid. But I didn't have that issue. I think it was mainly because I just liked learning about all the stupid little town and the stuff in it. And I liked naming all the cats. That was fun. And I was constantly like, sometimes I ignore a lot of that stuff that you've met, like running around. I don't even notice it's happening a lot of the time, because if you have presented me with something that I want to know what's going on and want to see the next thing, which I think it is good at doing that a lot of the time. It's not the greatest. I think it has its flaws when it comes to gameplay. I think there are certain parts where it's like, I don't really think you needed, there's a spot in like one of the dream sequence parts where it's just like, and now these things are going to try to crush you. And I'm like, I don't think you needed to do this. This was, wholly unnecessary. But the ending and all that stuff is something I have thought about, in months later.
Me too. Well, I mean, I played it much more recently than you, but I continue to think about it.
Yeah, it's incredible. And yeah, it does a lot more for me than Spider-Man 2, but that's me personally. If you guys don't feel the same way, that's fine. We can put it on number 7. You're wrong, but it's fine. You're wrong.
I didn't play it, so I'm not wrong. I'm just neutral.
That's fine. You're neutral. That's fine. Julian's just wrong, but that's okay.
I think the story is great, and especially like the very ending. I think is amazing. Like it saves a lot of stuff for the end.
It does. It really does.
I do find like a lot of the backtracking and like the Russian like nesting doll nature of the quests to become very tedious.
And there's a lot of aspects where I'm like, I respect that they, put their own little battle system in there, but at the same time, sometimes it's like, this is just kind of in the way.
I could have done without that.
There's a lot of stuff in there where I'm like, I didn't really need this, absolutely 100%.
I also have a little bit of an axe to grind with it because I was actively trying to, like scratch off everything on the bucket list and also get the platinum. And I missed 3 goddamn pets because there are these 3 shadow cats that you encounter at a part that are the minions of another ghost cat that you're talking to.
Right.
And I went to go pet one of them at one point and I didn't get like any feedback on it. It's like, okay, these don't count.
Oh,
but
I see.
They did count.
But they did.
And because I didn't do that, I couldn't pet the fluffiest thing in the world, which meant that I couldn't knock off the bucket list, which means that I couldn't get the platinum. It like knocked out like 4 trophies in a row.
I played it on PC and so Steam achievements don't matter. But I did pet the fluffiest thing in the world. I did do that.
Oh, god damn you. Yeah, like and I think it glitched, like because I didn't get any prompt to like pet one of those shadow cats. It's like, okay, I don't have to worry about these.
If memory serves, what did you play it on, if you don't mind me asking?
PlayStation.
Okay, yeah. If memory serves, it came out later to consoles. Like it's been on Steam. It came out on Steam first because it's an indie game. So that you very easily could have glitched on you or something that's fine. Number 7's fine for that spot. I understand. It's much higher on my list, but I understand. Number 7.
And I think I can get with Spider-Man at 6. I think.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
I think it might be. Well, I don't know. That actually might be where it is on my list now that I think about it.
We have to start asking the question: is Spider-Man 2 better than than Hi-Fi Rush or Street Fighter 6?
Yeah. And we talked about this a little bit with Zelda, but the amount that Spider-Man 2 brought that was new to it, that wasn't from Miles, that wasn't from Spider-Man 1, not enough.
It's Spider-Man again.
I think
it's more Spider-Man.
I feel like 5 is like, if I was fighting tooth or nail, 5 is the highest I would get it. I'm happy with it at 6. I would like it one higher. I want it in that top 5.
Yeah, because I think I like it better than Hi-Fi Rush.
I definitely don't. I
feel that Justin is going to pull the Jeff Gerstmann on me.
I'm sorry. I definitely don't. I am sorry that you both like Spider-Man 2, a game that's not very good. But no, 6 is fine. I'll live with it at 6. That's fine. But that's as high as I'm going on that.
Video Game Masterpiece Theater with your host, Thaddeus Wimpleshire. Good evening. I am Thaddeus Wimpleshire. Tonight, we have a monologue from one of the most infamous characters in video games, Andrew Ryan. This memorable speech comes to us from the beginning of the influential game BioShock, released in 2007 by Irrational Games. Performing this legendary dialogue is the incomparable Julian Titus, giving it the weight and gravitas that fans of the original work have come to expect. I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington. It belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican. It belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow. It belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose Rapture. A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, Rapture can become your city as well. It's certainly a BioShock. This has been another installment of Video Game Masterpiece Theater with your host, Thaddeus Wimpleshire.
So
Okay.
for 4 and 5, we've got what?
It's between Hi-Fi Rush and Street Fighter. Yeah. Personally, Hi-Fi Rush is higher than Street Fighter for me, but I absolutely can see if you guys feel the other way around on that. That's totally fine.
I have Hi-Fi Rush above it as well. I did like
Yeah.
Street Fighter 6.
I love Street Fighter 6, but I think Hi-Fi Rush is better personally. Mostly, there's a lot of spots in Hi-Fi Rush where just things just hit for me really well. My favorite part in that entire game, I think I talked about it during our NWP Music of the Year thing. And that was, there's a spot where like you kind of have this whole coming together of your crew and like you're going to go fight the big bad and you get and you get out of this little box thing because, you know, music, I guess. And then you get down in the thing and it like, it's cool to go and watch it after you've seen it too, because like it plays just like the opening of a music video where like your whole crew's like slow motion walking towards a thing and Worrying by the Joy Formidable comes on and like it's just a perfect moment. God damn, it's so good.
Still have not been able to figure out how I knew that song and that band name.
Yeah, I don't know how popular that band is. I've been looking them up actually very recently because Worrying came on when I was listening to stuff at work and I was like, God, this song's fucking amazing. And I was like, I really should look into this band. And I've been looking into it. I'm like, they're really, really good. I wish I would have known about them years ago. They're still making music, which is awesome.
Lonely Island sampled and put a part of Worrying in one of their songs. That may be how you know them.
That
you like
might
Lonely
be
Island,
it.
don't you?
Yeah, but that's the thing is I knew the band name,
Mhm.
I knew the lyrics, and I'm like, I don't know where I've heard this before. I didn't own it. It's not. I can't tell from other media. Like, and even the other day, I was like, let me look up the music video on YouTube and see if it shows that it's been played because maybe it just came up when I was going down like a music video rabbit hole.
Mhm.
No, had never seen the music video before. Had never played it on my YouTube account.
Yeah.
So I have no idea how this song is in my brain.
Yeah,
But
I
it
think
is.
you and I
It's fantastic. I'm not saying I don't like it being there. I just don't understand how it got there.
You and I even tried to look up like what movies it might have been in, and we couldn't find anything either.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I don't know. It's just it's a transcendental song, Julian. What can you do? But anyway, there's a lot of stuff. I don't know. For whatever reason, it hits me like in all the right ways. Something about it.
I love Chai. I have such a fondness for the lovable himbo, and I want more lovable himbos in video games.
Yeah.
And I think, and I've said this before on the old podcast, but it is one of the best looking games of
It looks
2023,
great.
and I think it is criminal how overlooked it is for that aspect.
Mhm.
Like, you know, and I think people have gotten it in their heads wrongly that you have to look like Alan Wake 2 or Spider-Man 2 to have quote unquote good graphics.
Yeah, people want
and that is
photoreal.
just not the case.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that, you know, I love the fact that we've gotten to the point where we're practically at photorealism for realistic graphics.
Yeah.
Because that means that we can become more experimental on stuff like Hi-Fi Rush.
Right.
And I looked at him like, that is a goddamn cartoon, like that I am controlling. That is
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah. All the cool visual cues that it has for like its whole gameplay system, where like everything's on the beat, like everything in the background's on the beat, like just to try to like give you every indication of where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to be hitting the button on and doing all that stuff. Man.
And by the time the game
Killed
ends,
it.
the combat with the pulling in your other teammates for their special abilities, going through and fighting while kind of staying on that beat and mixing it up, doing multiple chains of different things that gives you that same feeling that you get in music when you pull a harmony in with a melody and you're doing things that feel like they should oppose, but they really form this like beautiful union of the combat. It's such a wonderful game.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
Where you at on Street Fighter 6, Julian?
Man, Street Fighter 6 was like in my top 3 for a really long time.
Mhm.
And the only reason that it fell out of that top 3 is because then I played stuff like Alan Wake 2. But goddamn, I love Street Fighter 6 so much. I think they knocked it out of the park.
They did.
Like I think
It's great.
graphically and style-wise, and it's almost too much mechanically, but they do a really great job of easing you into those mechanics and making them make sense. I think the World Tour mode is a stroke of genius.
It's awesome.
The new characters are all great,
Mhm.
which how often does a fighting game come out with new characters where they're all great,
Right.
and there isn't like a stinker in the bunch?
Yeah.
You know, like I said, you know, back on Nerds Without Pants is like, this could have actually been a game where they did like a Street Fighter 3 where they cleared out the
Mhm.
whole old roster except for 2
Yeah.
because the new characters are so strong that I think it actually would have worked this time.
Mhm.
And for me, it's like I really feel Hi-Fi Rush is too high up on the list. But having said all that and feeling like the temperature of the room and having to admit that as much as I love Street Fighter 6, I did fall off of it faster than I expected to.
And that's exactly where I come on with that.
Yeah.
Is like, most of it for you and I, Julian, we like a single player mode, and like it's not. And I think World Tour is like you said, it's an awesome idea, but I just like wish it would have somehow kept going and kept my interest more, like after it's done. And I did like everything that I could possibly do in it, and I was still like, well, I'd like to keep going or like have a way to like get better at stuff, but it just didn't seem to be there. And I don't.
And for me, like, I mean, I do like a single player mode in a fighting game, but I also like to get online and
Yeah.
I like to play with people. But I think that was the other thing is I didn't have anybody that I know personally to play with.
Yeah.
Like Justin and I never got a chance to hook up on
Yeah.
it. And but also like, and I think this says maybe a lot, maybe a little more damning than I mean it to be, but like I still haven't touched all of the characters in the game.
Right.
Other than like using their different styles in World Tour mode for my character. But
Yeah.
like I've never used Kimberly. I've never used JP. I've never used Blanca.
Right.
Like most of the cast I have not touched. I've used Ken, Ryu, Luke, Marissa. And then I tried out Rashid and Aki when they came out, and both of them I was like, oh no, they're way too complicated for me. Like,
Right.
And that actually might be an issue. Is that because I felt that like when the game came out, I was like, okay, no, this is a level of mechanics I can wrap my head around. And then the first two like extra characters that come out, it's like, oh, you're up to your bullshit again.
They're gonna aim towards the people that are staying there. You know, like the people that are staying there are the hardcore crowd, and that's where it's a lot of the DLC stuff is going to be aimed at. And that's just kind of how it boils down. But yeah, it's a great game. It really is. But I think
so. I will grudgingly concede Street Fighter 6 at 5.
that's fine.
And I guess Hi-Fi at 4.
That's fine. Yeah, that sounds right.
Oh, but this top 3. I'm gonna fight.
I have my
right.
idea of I think where it's going to end up, but I don't like it already.
I have a compromise that I would like to throw up there because I think I know where we should land. It may not be where I would personally land, but I think I'm going to propose this for the top 3. I'm going to say number 1 is going to be a shocker, but I feel like it's the one that we can all agree on, or at least Julian and I can agree on. And I think Octopath 2 should be number 1. Crazy, I know, but I think it maybe should
I'm
be.
actually surprised.
No, I think maybe it should be. Between you and I. Me personally,
right.
Baldur's Gate 2 should be up there. Or Baldur's Gate 3, I'm sorry. But I don't think I'm going to win that argument, and nor am I going to try. And then it comes down to like, where do you want Alan Wake or where do you want Baldur's Gate? But, but I feel like we can all agree maybe that should be number 1.
I'm okay with Octopath Traveler 2 being number 1.
Okay.
It is probably the lowest out of these 3 for me, but I think I know how much the 2 of you guys loved it, and I love Octopath Traveler 2. This is not I don't like Octopath Traveler 2 is in my top 5.
Right.
But I screwed myself because I didn't play it when it came out. So I played it in chunks in between other games that I was trying to play as they were coming out throughout the entire back half of the year. I have beaten chapter 3 or chapter 4, depending on the character for all of them, and done at least the first, if not the first 2 of all the Link stories. And I still just love throwing it on. I love Octopath 2.
Let me just throw that up there for the future. Okay. Now let's do this. Let's do this. Where do we all personally think it should be? Well, like, what if you were going to order these 3 in any order? Where do you personally? I'll put mine up there first. My number 1 personally will be Baldur's Gate 3, and my number 2 would be Octopath 2, and my number 3 would be Alan Wake. And that's where I'm at.
So yeah, I would do Baldur's Gate 3 as 1, Alan Wake 2 as 2, Octopath as 3.
Okay, Julian, where do you stand?
I would put Alan Wake 2 at number 1. Octopath Traveler 2 at number 2, and Baldur's Gate 3 at number 7, and put almost anything else in the 3rd spot.
Understood. Which is why, okay. All right. That's what.
Look, I loved what I played of Baldur's Gate 3. That game does not want me to play it. I got to Act 3 on my second character, on my second attempt. And I was like, man, the city of Baldur's Gate is everything that they said it was going to be. Like it as much as it's annoying that like everything is like, well, I'll see you in Baldur's Gate, and everybody's headed to Baldur's Gate and blah, blah, blah. And you hear about it for like, 30 something hours. Yeah. Like when you get there, it's like, oh shit, lives up to the hype. Yeah. Like this place is really fun to explore. There's all sorts of stuff going on. Like even like just the plain Jane NPCs have stuff to say to you that's like voiced and animated and stuff like that. Like this is awesome. And then I hit a fucking wall and could literally not progress. Every fight that I got into, I was not prepared for, like just could not do anything. And so then for me, it felt like it turned into the beginning of Divinity Original Sin 1, which was, there is a very specific order of events that you need to tackle this area. Right. And until you find it, fuck you. Yeah. And I was just like, man, y'all are really like, because the rest of the game didn't feel like that. Like it felt like a very organic thing. And I keep feeling that like there's only there's like a right way to build each specific character. And if you don't know what that is, you're just out of luck. And that's, to me, that flies in the face of how much choice you're given. And again, this is just my personal experience with it.
But it's not even just your personal experience. Like, I disagree with a lot of the things that you're saying. Yeah, I do too. What you just said is fact.
I get it.
Like, they give you characters that can... Shadowheart is a great example. She is a wisdom-based character that they give an intelligence spell to start. So then you use an intelligence spell, and she's fucking garbage, and you're like, I don't understand what I'm doing. They don't explain it. They don't point it out. No. Only if you know the game, the characters, Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
would you ever know, like, oh, I have to completely respec her because the computer built her like a jackass.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff like that I never struggled with, but I think, like, there's games on this list that I would recommend to anyone. Baldur's Gate 3 has about a 17-minute diatribe that's an asterisk on a caveat on a, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
That's, hey, this is not only my favorite game of last year, this is probably in my top 10 games of all time.
Yeah,
Like,
mine too.
It's
up there.
I have played, I've beat it by myself. I've beat it as a Dirge character. I've gotten to Act 2 with 2 different multiplayer groups and beaten it with a 3rd multiplayer group. Like, I can say, I didn't have time to beat Octopath Traveler 2. I played 400 hours of Baldur's Gate 3 this year.
Yeah.
But as much as this is my number one, this is Justin's number one, I feel like when it comes to the 3 of us, this game unfortunately feels like 3 to me. And I hate that because this game is so good.
I don't know. I mean, it is 2 against 1, so let's
there is the level of like, fuck you, Julian. We're just going to yell Baldur's Gate 3 until you give in.
Well,
I think what it really comes down to is that I'm the only one pulling for Alan Wake 2 to be number 1.
Oh, I am. Alan Wake 2 is number 2 on my list by a hair. I love that game. So
I think it's very, very cool, but I think it's a solid number 3.
Part of me is like, look, Alan Wake 2 needs a fucking W, boys. You know, that game came out to crickets. Like, nobody bought that game. I don't understand how Remedy stays in business because nobody buys their games, and it's so fucking cool.
Yeah, I just read today that it's their highest selling one, and that says
still has not made a profit.
It still has not made a profit. And I'm like, oh no.
It hurts.
Oh no. That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah. And I don't understand how people are sleeping on it. Like, especially after the Game Awards, like, you know, seeing Herald of Darkness, like, performed and people not being like, yo, what's going on in this game? I need to play this game. Like, you know, people bought Poets of the Fall albums, but like didn't feel inclined to check out Alan Wake 2, and I'm like...
So I think the horror aspect of it, while worked well for the game, it hurt the people that look at it. They are intrigued by that, and then they watch a trailer for it, and they're like, holy fuck, this is scary as shit. I'm not playing this. It is scary.
Even if you watch like the first, X amount of time of the game, it'll start throwing the jump scare stuff at you, and it's not my favorite thing in the world. I got through it okay, but I couldn't play that game. There's no way. Like it would do the first jump scare bit, and I'd be like, okay, I'm done. That's it. I'm not going to keep going with this.
I hate horror games in general. I don't enjoy them. I don't like I like movies. I like being scared in movies, but something about having control of the character really fucks me up. I streamed the entirety of this game, and there's a scene in like the second or third part as Alan where you go into a subway and you're changing things around. And there is a section on that stream that you can watch about 15 minutes of me like in the Lightroom. I come out, I go into the area, I see a shadow in the corner of my eye, I scream, I run back into the Lightroom. And it's just me trying to go into like this spooky, dark section of it that you can't get to. I forced myself through because the story worked like well for me.
The story's great. The story's great.
Saga was phenomenal from start to finish. I think Alan was phenomenal from start to finish. I think some of the gameplay controls I struggled a little bit with later on.
I could see that.
I put that on story mode immediately. I was like, I'm barely going to get through this game as is.
A lot of people say that, and I really like the way the game handles and plays. Like, again, not again, like this show is new, but when we talked about it on the old show, like there is a sequence towards the end that is bullshit because it is throwing a bunch of enemies at you in an environment where it's just, the game isn't built for that because it is a very methodical, very slow paced, like the reload animations are very slow on purpose to add tension, which doesn't work.
You're talking about the Dark Ocean summoning, right?
Yeah.
That's actually I love that song. The part's bad, but I love that song.
This is like the biggest thing I would say. about Remedy as a developer and stuff like that is every one of their games has like that one decision where you're like, not sure about that one. And
it always comes down to, well, it's the end of the game, so we need to have a big like action thing.
Well, there's that, but there's also the fact that they're doing survival horror essentially, but they're also doing kind of randomized loot, which kind of takes away from like certain aspects of like survival horror. I feel like it's a weird mix that they went for. For the most part, it works, but it's like I remember you talking about, Julian, when you would go back for stuff and be like, actually, that was a waste of time. I shouldn't have done that. It is
a game that if you want 100%, and I did, right? Like after I beat the game, I was like, oh, I'm going to go back for the platinum because I love this game and I want to see everything. And it's a thing where like you are actively disincentivized to go look for everything because you will almost always be worse off than before. Like you will find a cache of items, but what's in that cache, sometimes you will either be back to where you were at or slightly worse off than you were before
and I don't think that's their intent. I don't think that's their intent at all. But I don't think they probably didn't, fully think the whole thing out, which, if you were, I feel like it works if they go true survival horror and like, no, this is what's in this area. You cleared this out. Cool. Now there's a thing over here when you come back and it's already cleared out and you're going to get a thing. Maybe you'll get in one little fight or something like that, but you'll see a new thing, get some stuff. And that's your reward for going back and seeing this thing. But yeah, they went a different route with it. And that's my one thing where I'm like, this was a decision that I feel like maybe should have been thought out a little bit more. But it's Remedy. There's always
finding
something.
out that the encounters are randomized was kind of demoralizing as well because you can also get into situations like so sometimes it works in your favor where like you'll die and then you go back to that area expecting a fight and then like nothing's there. Or like half of the enemies are there, which is cool. But then other times it's like there are 4 of the flash dudes that like the super fast dudes in this one encounter, plus one of the big sledgehammer dudes. Like I can't contend with this.
Yeah,
right.
That's
like,
a lot.
So
I have one other slight bone to pick with it that I just kind of want to throw out as at least to bring up. I really hate that they added the quote unquote like true ending of it, which is what I think they're going to use to springboard into the DLC and into whatever comes next as a 3 months post-release patch that like didn't get the fanfare of like, hey, this is the bridge that is going to tie to the next game. That frustrated me, like the final draft aspect of it. I think the final, like I did not have an issue with the game, like the way that it ended originally. Like I thought it was a good complete ending.
Yeah.
But adding the ending that is going to springboard into the next without really signaling that that's what it was, that frustrates me as well.
Yeah, I wasn't like super high on the ending, but I thought it was fine. I love the the last line and I like that Alan has and all that stuff. I think that's a great tie together. But at the same time, I don't know. I just find it like, I don't know. I didn't really like how there wasn't like a conclusion. I get there was, but like there are certain things where I'm like, okay, well, where are we going with that? And I guess, and now I have to wait X amount of time to find out where we're going with that. If there is a next time.
Well, and some of
right, and that's
stuff that didn't get resolution. There is resolution to several things that I was looking for at the end of the game in the final draft.
Okay.
So
all right.
Saga gets more of a resolution. Alice gets more of a resolution. Like some of that stuff is what I'm talking about that like they added later and then didn't like blow it up. And I think, there was not as big of a as big of a groundswell as I think they wanted and we wanted. So I see why they didn't. But like this should be like, here is the end of the game. Here is the patch that's adding all that.
Or maybe you don't. Or maybe you just put that out when you release it. Yeah.
Well, and like I think for me, like I admire them for the way it ended, just because like it is a really good callback to the first game.
I agree.
But there's also like it would be nice if you could have things end. Like I think for me, if I had my druthers, Alan gets out, and then there's like a post-credit scene where like he's like typing or something, and then somebody knocks on his door and he opens it. It's like, Mr. Wake, I'm Jesse Faden. I have some questions to ask you.
That
right,
could be
and
good.
that's like the big like dun dun dun.
See, I even like him still not getting out, but I would like a resolution to what's going on with Saga and the rest of the world. And then maybe, our sequel, we come back and we bring back the crew because like, oh, hey, no, Alan's still in there and we know he's trying to get out. So we got to help him. And there's more you can, you can keep going with this stuff. I don't know. I'm not a writer. They have a plan. I don't, I get it.
Also no Barry Wheeler in here, which is criminal to me.
Yeah. No Barry Wheeler. He's mentioned.
I could not believe it.
He's mentioned. They talk about him.
He is a couple times, but I'm just, I was stunned.
Yeah.
Because he was even in the DLC for the first game,
right?
Yeah. Getting more time with Quantum Break characters than with Barry Wheeler is such an odd choice.
That's weird.
It's a choice. Like I liked it. I loved seeing Mr. Door that may or may not be Latch, and I love seeing what's his face, Sean Ashmore, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was Tim in
the sheriff, Deputy Tim or whatever.
Yeah,
Breaker.
Tim Breaker.
Tim Breaker.
Yeah.
That stuff was surprisingly cool because I did not. Well, one, I didn't expect them to acknowledge Quantum Break at all, but also for him, his whole thing, the whole game is like, yeah, like I think I'm in the wrong place, and like I don't know what's going on, and like he clearly saw Jesse Faden at some point, and he's like, but she's not the same person that I remember. I don't, and so like even just on a meta level, like just like acknowledging
they
that,
do
like,
some great stuff with that.
Some of these people are like different in other places. Like, all that stuff was like very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm okay putting it at number 3. It is my game of the year.
Yeah, I get it.
Whoops.
Oh,
one other little nitpick.
And well-deserved game of the year, by the way. Absolutely. If it's anybody's game of the year, I totally see that. It's a phenomenal game.
One final little nitpick is that it is cool because you don't know like which are enemies and which are not. Mm-hmm. But the shadows saying "Wake" or "Alan, wake," as you walk by them, gets old real fast.
Yeah, that is a little corny. You're right. Yeah.
Fuck the fake enemies. All of that. I hate it all.
Yeah. It's a super cool idea because it keeps you on your toes, especially from a horror perspective. But yeah, like the whispering thing, you're right. I wish they would have just got a couple more lines or something. There's a lot of stuff you could have done with that, but they just keep doing the wake thing, and I don't know. Oh well, okay.
So if you guys are fine with Octopath at number 1, I'm totally cool with that because for me it was very much like a neck and neck with Alan Wake 2.
Justin's fine with Octopath 2 being number 1. I'm
so much that Justin talks in third person.
That's
now.
Right. He's convincing himself. It's okay. I'm fine.
I think that's what makes sense as the number 1 for the three of us.
For the three of us, I think so. That's why I threw that up there in the beginning. I was like, I in my heart, I feel like this is how it can go because I feel like this is the one we can all agree on, or agree enough.
I mean, and I think. I think one thing, Octopath Traveler 2 came out really early in the year.
Yeah.
And it can be easy to forget about games that come out early in the year. But I know for Justin and I, like, we did not stop thinking or talking about Octopath. I fucking
loved Octopath Traveler 2. There are parts of Octopath Traveler 2 that I were like, especially toward the end when the whole plot is kind of revealed, where I was like, did they make this for me? Did they do this for me? Because this is exactly the type of shit that I gush about. Like, I love this kind of stuff. It's like just them just being like, hey, did you notice this thing and this thing? And it's like, oh, that's so cool. And like, I would go back and like watch scenes and be like, oh my God, that is how that played out. Holy shit, that's so cool. Oh man, stories would get to me, and the music's phenomenal, and I really liked Octopath too. So
I'm somebody that really struggles to go back to things, and if I do go back to it, I often feel the need to start it over or to watch a summary or something. Every time, I probably picked up Octopath 3 or 4 times throughout the year and put another 10 to 15 hours into it. Yeah. Every time I'd have to force myself. I'm like, all right, I'm going to put it back in. Within 5 minutes of starting it, I was completely back in. Yeah. The characters are working. The music is working. I'd be in the middle of like a random, like in between cities. I have no idea what's going on. It's so easy to just pull it up and say, oh, this is obviously what I was doing. I'm, around this level, right near this. Did combat for 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm completely ready to go back into the story.
Yeah. And talk about games that need a win, Julian. Octopath Traveler.
No, you're right. Because at least there were people talking about Alan Wake too.
Yes, at least people talked about it.
People didn't buy it, but at least people talked about it. Nobody bought or talked about Octopath Traveler 2.
No, until there were a couple people that were like, yo, Octopath's really, really good. And I'd be like, oh, they know. But not near as much. And now recently, the studio that makes them got bought out by what was it? FromSoft? The people that own FromSoft, their parent company, just bought that studio.
They weren't like a Square Enix like
they were, but I think Square sold them.
Really?
God damn it!
Yeah,
that company, dude.
Yeah, so they want to focus more on AAA, Julian. So we'll maybe never see another Octopath Traveler game, and that really, I hope that studio gets to at least make something like it. But at the same time, I don't know how that's going to all play out. I just want Yasunori Nishiki to keep making music too. I hope.
Oh, he definitely will.
He will. He's amazing. So
I would like him to make music in something that I actually want to play, and not like
Yu-Gi-Oh.
a mobile gotcha game or something. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, and just like the characters are all just phenomenal, and like the music, we spent 2 out of a 7-hour long music special.
I could
2 hours. I could have talking about.
I could have talked 7 hours about just Octopath Traveler's 2 soundtrack, and I would have been pretty happy about it. It's a great game, and I'm perfectly fine with it being number 1. I love Baldur's Gate 3, I really do. And that game's got enough praise. It doesn't need enough anymore. It's a great game, and you either love it or don't, and that's fine. But like for our list, I feel like this is where we could all come together. And
I think like I came into this Deliberations, and I was like, it needs to be Octopath or Alan Wake for me. Not just for me personally, but it was like, for the show, I feel that like it says a lot.
I've been going over it in my heart for a while now, and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to convince Julian on Baldur's Gate 3, and that's fine. I totally get it. These things happen to everybody. But I was like, but I'm pretty sure I can get him on Octopath, and I'm pretty all right with Octopath. So this works.
Yeah, because I think one thing I meant to talk about at the top of this show is that, new podcast, going to be hopefully new listeners discovering this for the first time. You don't know who we are quite yet. And I think a Game of the Year episode is an excellent way to get to know the tastes and preferences of the hosts. And I think having Octopath Traveler 2 as the first ever stage select Game of the Year says a lot, right? Like it's like, oh, you're a podcast of taste also. Okay.
Or you guys are fucking weird. This guy's over here saying,
either way.
Where's Zelda? It's gone.
Yeah. I honestly, I thought it was going to make it. I was shocked. The fact that Zelda is gone and Lies of P is here is fucking bananas to me. But here we are.
I like this list. I do. I look at it, the more I go over it, the more I'm like, this looks good. This looks good to me. I enjoy it.
I have bolded the number 1 entry, and so all that remains is to recap our top 10. Number 10, Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Mm-hmm. Number 9, Goodbye Volcano High. Mm-hmm. Number 8, Lies of P. Mm-hmm. Number 7, A Space for the Unbound. Number 6, Spider-Man 2. Number 5, Street Fighter 6. Number 4, Hi-Fi Rush. Number 3, Alan Wake 2. Number 2, Baldur's Gate 3. And the stage selects Game of the Year for 2023 is Octopath Traveler 2.
Woo!
Gentlemen, that's a
good
great
list.
It's a good list. I like it. Yeah.
I'm really happy with that list.
I am too. This is about Spider-Man 2, maybe a little higher than I'd like it to be, but that's fine. That's fine. You know, it's okay.
Baldur's Gate 3 a lot higher on the list, but that's fine. That's fine.
Exactly. We all have our gripes, and that's okay.
Yeah. Again, I love Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
It just doesn't love me back.
I know. It happens.
Yeah, I even started a third character. I started a deep gnome rogue.
Okay.
Because I thought, and I named him Shanks.
Okay.
Thought that'd be fun. But
yeah.
Yeah, man. I tried. Like, I was trying to.
No,
make,
you did. You really did. You put the effort in. I will not discourage that at all. Like
getting to Act 3 is a big accomplishment in this game.
For sure. Yeah, like you doing that is like, that's, you gave that a solid try and enjoyed it for the most part. It just got rid of you at the end. It shook you off. But I get it. My experience is the opposite. Like, I got to the end of the game and I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing now. And like, I would go into encounters and be like, let's fucking go. And like, every now and then I'd be like, oh, I got my ass kicked there a little bit. Let me go back and think this out. But like, let
me be clear. I feel that I did know what to do by then, but it was like, oh, I just can't touch. Like, okay. So I think a good example is that I got into a fight that you told me, Justin, that like, oh yeah, like that it's always like a really tough fight, but like I was at like level 10 when I did this.
Yeah.
And I got it down to where only the boss was left because he has like a lot of like minions with him.
Yeah.
But then it was a one-on-one battle with him and Astarion. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't going to happen. But like, I had fought that fight in what I felt was like a very strategic way where like I was able to pick off these very strong, adds to this battle and keep my guys up. But he was just too strong. And also like, I think I might have like messed up on the way I leveled Karlach. Like she became pretty useless to me too.
Oh yeah. She was a valued member of my team.
Yeah. Oh, she's very valued, just doesn't put out much damage.
I never had Astarion in my party. Because I played a bard, so I just let them be the rogue. And did that always work? Nope. But I tried to make it work. But I also had magic, and I would just, I don't know, man. I would just
knock constantly.
If that, yeah, like half the time I just be like, I don't know, I'm just gonna beat this chest up and get the stuff. It's fine. I didn't need lockpicking as much, but then again, I don't know. My guy had enough stuff to lockpick. Sometimes it worked out. I don't know what it was, but I would just, like, when it came to fights, it was just like, what giant spell can I cast first thing? And I would just wipe out like X amount of people. That fight, I remember, I think I killed the ads in like my first turn, and then it was just me and 4 other people against the one guy. me and my crew versus the one guy. It was all, but also I had done a bunch of other stuff before that, so that one's tough to stumble into.
The new ad for it with the companions that can romance each other now.
Ooh.
I have not looked into it at all, but they posted a video on X that was Twitter. I can't. I'm sorry.
It's Twitter. No, it's Twitter.
A video that's literally Astarion grabbing Gale by like the throat and like forcing him to his knees and then like biting it. And it's like a 30-second video. And I pull it up and I was like, these are the horniest comments that I have seen in a long, and they know exactly who they are catering all that to.
I mean, literally the patch notes for the patch that came out this week was improved kissing.
Hell yeah.
That was one of them.
I'm into it.
I actually thought that like the companions could romance each other already, because I know that like so many people were like shipping Shadowheart and Lae'zel, and I just thought that was part of the game.
Well, you can play as the origin characters,
Yes.
in which case you can then romance them.
Yes.
Okay.
But I believe
Yeah,
now
that makes
you
more
can
sense.
actually, like, you can play a custom character and then they can romance each other, I think.
Yeah. That's
But
pretty neat.
anyways,
I would like to tell the story of actually where I decided to stop.
yeah,
So-
go for it.
There's a side quest in when you get to Baldur's Gate where you find out that like the newspaper is like printing like slanderous things about you, and they're about to like print like a news story the next day, and so you need to stop this before it happens. And so, you know, I didn't know what to do because I failed like getting into the building, you know, through talking. And so I kind of looked up like what I'm supposed to do, and I was like, oh, okay, I actually just need to sneak in.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, from what I could tell, like there's only the main entrance, like there's not like a side door or anything like that. And I was like, okay, well, let me split Astarion off from the rest of the party and let me put this invisibility spell on him.
Mm-hmm.
Then he can pick this lock, and because they had locked the door on me, get into the building. And then I was able to like sneak in and like find the key for the downstairs, but then I had to like re-up my invisibility spell, get down there, pick that lock, or no, sorry, unlock that door because I had the key, get in, and I'm like, okay. So now I'm in the basement of this newspaper, and there's like there's these mechanical like sentinels that are all over Baldur's Gate, and there's some of them patrolling down here, and they have like their cone of vision and everything, and so, you know, I have Astarion like sneak around, and he's still invisible at this point, actually. And he goes into this room and he picks up some stuff. And the robots can't see into this room, right? Like the cone of vision does not reach in here. Astarion's invisibility wears off, and immediately I'm in a fight.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's weird. I don't know how that happened, and there's no way he's getting out of this alive because he can't take these on single-handed. Let alone two at once. So I reload, do the whole thing again, get past that area, get into the next room, find the thing that I have. I wait for the robot to turn around until it is leaving me before I drop my invisibility spell, and I'm in a fight. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm done.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, this was at the end of a night of just elves.
Yeah.
Like,
that'll do it.
Every encounter that I got into that night, I had to reload because I was like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this right now.
Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah, for sure.
And even as somebody, you know, I've talked about this on NWP before when we talked about Baldur's Gate 3, but, you know, I am a big Dungeons & Dragons person. I do DM regularly for multiple different groups, all of which are playing 5e, which this is not an exact copy of, but pretty freaking close.
Pretty close.
There are still nights that I would put like 2 hours in, and the dice were just not my friend.
Yeah.
And it felt like I was getting
You'll
just the
have that.
shit kicked out of me, even having everything possible in my favor. And so I can see where, it can really just turn you away when you're like, this isn't skill. This is either luck or the game is actively sabotaging me right now.
Right, because I definitely would have because, you know, so there were evenings that I would play Elden Ring where it'd be like I would finish and I'd be like, man, that was a net negative. Like, I didn't make any progress tonight.
Yeah.
And I actually am worse off than I was when I started because I wasted these items or I lost all these souls or whatever.
Right.
But that felt like a skill issue, right? Because it's like I just didn't have the skills. Where here it's like, no, that it's because the dice told me that I didn't succeed. Which again, like that's part of the fun of it, right? Like,
yes.
But as I've talked about in the past, like I am just apparently
Julian and dice rolls just not good together. Just this is not. This is for those new to this. You know us. Julian has a long history of dice roll things just going bad for him. And not just this game,
and also in tabletop games,
in everything. It's just not his thing. So I get it. But anyways, congratulations to Octopath Traveler 2. the game of the year.
Yes.
Um,
Very, very happy
earned.
for that.
I'm happy about it.
Yeah. This didn't take as long as I thought. Like, I actually had us like meet pretty early in the day because I was like, oh, this might go for like 6 hours or something
It's
like
possible.
that.
I thought we were doing more than we were, and I prepared stuff. Here, look.
No, don't.
Okay, I won't do it. I won't preview it.
We are going to be doing that next time.
I'll save it for next year. I can't preview
it'll
it.
be. No. I don't want to.
All right, we won't spoil
Gotta
it.
save it.
Okay.
So yes, we will be doing Game of the Year in this year for like and moving forward. So
Yes.
And we will be doing a much larger Game of the Year procedure, from here on out.
Uh-huh.
So the idea is to probably like split our recordings into separate days, so it's not too big of a burden on us personally, and probably have like a special guest for each of those individual recording days. And we're going to come up with like some really fun and silly categories in addition to some more serious ones. And so we'll do those with our guests, and then on the final day we will do like we did for this episode, where it's just about coming up with that top 10 and having this type of discussion. But we've already got like a couple of really fun and dumb categories.
I really want to press a button right now. I just want to press one.
Okay, go
Can
ahead.
I press one? Okay, hold on.
You can press one button.
All right. Congratulations to Octopath Traveler 2, the game of the year.
I like it like that. Yeah.
That's it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we will go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Yeah.
Xavier, thank you for being on the show.
It's a pleasure
First
as
guest,
always.
and-
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm really excited to not only get a chance to talk to you guys again, but to help you guys kind of launch this new show. I'm super excited as a listener and a writer into the old show to see what you guys do. I am going to continue to demand, where the fuck's that Discord at, Julian?
We
Where's
should
that?
get a Discord.
Eventually,
Make that Discord.
The last things that I need to get into place is the Discord, the Instagram, and the TikTok. I've kind of been putting those off until like the show is officially launched.
I'm on Discord a lot now because Skyrim modding demands it. So I'll look into it.
Yeah. Well, on behalf of me and Matt Jorgensen, we're ready for that Discord.
All right.
Yes. And yeah, as this is a new podcast, and as such, we can definitely use your help. Sharing it with friends, rating and reviewing it wherever you rate and review your podcast does it. Honestly, it does now that I can see the numbers, like that stuff works wonders for a podcast.
Yeah.
So, whatever you can do, like, if you really like the show and you want to download it on more than one platform, like, by all means, like that, the more that the show gets downloaded and listened to, like, the more it gets put in front of other people, and that's really huge. If you really enjoy this and you like the cut of our jib, consider checking us out on Patreon or throwing us some money at our coffee donation. Our link tree link will be in the show notes, so that's where you can find all of the other stuff that's related to the show. Our theme song and interstitial tracks come to us from the wonderful Megan McDuffie.
Yes.
Just search for online. Like, she's not hard to find. You'll find all the cool stuff she's working on. Special thanks to John Gholson for our incredible show art and being the show announcer. That's who you heard at the top of the show. He's a lot of fun. And you can find us individually online, Justin.
Oh, yeah. I'm at Tyrone_Swift on Twitter.com. It's still Twitter.com, right? They didn't change that.
And also
that's
fuck
funny.
you. Like it's Twitter.
But he gets mad when you call it Twitter, and that's why I love doing it. Now I'm like, oh, that's good. It makes me happy that he's angry.
It's also like, why would you want to, like, it's such brand recognition. Like, why would you want to, like, throw that out the window? Like,
pure spite.
Like, yeah.
Basically,
Xavier, you're not really.
No, I'm not really. So don't find me online. Don't find me.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't at me anywhere.
Yeah.
at
Fair.
us and how much you liked Xavier, and we'll get it to him somehow.
Yeah.
You can find me at Julian_Titus. You can also find me on Blue Sky, just Julian Titus. And the show Twitter is at Stage Select Pod. And yeah, I think that's going to do it.
Did it.
This is actually the first episode we've recorded, so I don't have like our sign off or whatever. So just gonna say thanks for listening and have a good evening. Bye.
Yep.
I love you. Bye.
The Stage Select is copyrighted and owned by Space Monkey Mafia Productions, specializing in independent podcasting. Please consider sharing the show with your friends and support us by joining our Patreon or donating to our coffee. Thank you, and good night.